Welcome to a Steeler Thoughts Chief Feelings film review. This video will review the Chiefs' 21-7 Week 15 victory in Cleveland. As always, the video is broken up into chapters, so if there's a specific segment you want to watch, use the scroll bar or the links in the description and head over to whatever segment you want to watch. If you're interested in watching the whole thing through, just stick with me right here. Thanks so much to all of you who follow along at STCF715 on social media. That's TikTok, Twitter, or Instagram. Or if you download the podcast, wherever you download podcasts. Well, let's get into the film review. Through the first 13 games of the season, the Chiefs forced a total of 10 turnovers. A strikingly low total for a team as successful as they have been. It's really quite impressive that they've picked up this record. They've picked up 12 wins out of their first 13 games, having only forced 10 turnovers. Well, the turnovers came with abundance in this game against the Browns. In this game alone, they forced 6 turnovers. So let's take a look at their turnovers and see what the Chiefs were doing to be so prolific in this realm. We will start with 13:46 to go in the first quarter. The Chiefs started with the ball and went 3 and out, and here they are going to punt it to the Browns. So Matt Ariza punted it, and it was fielded at about the 25-yard line, at which point the returner fumbled on a hit by Chris Rowland-Wallace, and the Chiefs recovered. So a couple things to note about this play. First of all, the hang time by Matt Ariza. So he got so much hang time that look how close the Chiefs coverage team is at this point when he fields a punt. I mean, they're right there ready to make a play, which is step one. Step 2, it really looks like they are trying to funnel this return over in this direction. If you notice the way that from the outside, it's almost like a pass rush. You know, he's coming outside, he's coming more inside, and it looks like the ultimate flow is expecting the returner to try to go in this direction, which is what they ended up getting. And they were prepared for this, and look at Chris Rowland-Wallace come up behind. Did a good job of wrapping around and getting the ball as he was making the tackle. There was a scrum for the ball, and it's Samaje Perine who actually came out of the pile with the ball. It's kind of tough to tell from this view, but it looks like the ball was kind of bouncing around, and he managed to get in there and get the ball. Let's check this punt again from Ariza. So he angles it toward the Chiefs' left. And if you look at Rowland-Wallace coming in this direction. Again, look at the flow. They seem to be trying to pin the returner and force a return in this direction. And you can see Nazeeh Johnson is kind of coming along this line. Again, trying to force things in that direction. They do a good job maintaining contain, though, as when the punt is caught, not like losing their discipline and letting, too much go back over this way. And then look at Rowland-Wallace get around, wrap around, the ball is out. And Perine is the one right here. He's the one that ultimately came out with the ball. He ended up going down as it was jostling and managed to get the ball. So here's a little better view from the broadcast of Rowland-Wallace. Look at him wrap around right there, get his hand right on the ball, and pop it out. Great play from him. See it one more time. Look right over here. As he, with his right arm, he manages to come around and pop that ball out. As the ball is down, you can see it's still like alive in there. And Perine managed to get in there and get that ball. Here's one last view. Look at that. Pop that ball out. It's a great start for the Chiefs. With the offense not really being able to do much. Actually, you can see the ball right here. And this is Perine as he goes down trying to get control of it. The offense wasn't able to do much at the beginning, but they were given a great field by special teams. great way to start the game after the 3-and. Our next play comes from 1:44 to go in the first quarter. The Browns have a little drive going. They have 1st and 10 at the Chiefs 36, and they're only down 7-0 at this point. And the Chiefs offense honestly has not looked too great. So the Browns are very much in this game. Let's see how this play goes, and then we can break it down. Here, Winston is under center with one back, motions Elijah Moore in. They run play action, and he throws a post that's intercepted by the backside safety, Brian Cook. So to start, it looks like the Browns are here in 11 personnel. Got one running back. This looks like a tight end. Everyone here looks like a wide receiver. Again, I'm not overly familiar with the Browns personnel, so apologies if I made any mistakes. Like we said, they motion Elijah Moore in. He's definitely a wide receiver. And interesting to note at the snaps, look at the Chiefs here. The Chiefs are in their nickel personnel. They've got 5 defensive backs, 3, 4, 5. Now, the way that they have it set up right now, it kind of looks like this is a too high set, right, with Cook and Reed as the deep safeties. Then as Moore comes in, Reed at that same time is coming down as well, and Cook starts rotating. So it's starting to look actually like a cover 1. But as they snap it, and this is one thing that Winston doesn't see because he's going to take a play action and look back, turn his back on the defense. So as the ball's about to be snapped, Cook rotates over to the middle. But as Winston turns his back to the defense, that rotation continues, and Connor actually drops out to be a deep half, and Cook rotates over. So this ends up being a cover 2. It's just not the cover 2 that it looked like it could be here with Reed and Cook. But unfortunately, it looks like for Jameis, when he snaps this ball, this looked like it was more cover 1 when he snapped it. And by the time he's turned around, it is too deep. And you wonder, I'm not really sure, honestly, what Jameis Winston was thinking. Like, his route combination here is he's got a go route over here, and he's got a post here, which is a great combination to put this safety in conflict, right? Over here, he's got a curl. So unless the safety on this side like drives hard down on the curl, you've got to be wary of this safety here on the post route. It almost looks like Winston gets so caught up on seeing if the post crosses the face of this safety that he completely forgets about the existence of this safety, Brian Cook. And he just throws that post. I mean, this ball should never be thrown. He throws that post, and Cook is right there reading his eyes, able to just come right over and undercut this. Like, this never should have been thrown. And I don't know. I mean, the one thing I can say is with the safety occupying this post, you might have a better shot throwing the go route over here. You've got one-on-one over there. But the post, you have a safety rotating underneath, and I mean, this was just too easy. So I don't know. That's why I brought up the rotation at the beginning. Like, did he get confused seeing the one safety when he snapped the ball, that maybe he got fixated on Connor over here and just thought he was the only guy and just lost track entirely of Cook? I don't know. But it makes no sense to throw this ball against a cover 2, and what you see happen is exactly what would happen. You get intercepted. Let's see if we can get some insight by looking at Winston's eyes here. Yeah, look at how he's just so focused on that side. Like, I feel like he doesn't ever take into account the position of the backside safety. He's just looking right over on the front side and throws it. I mean, that is pretty bad, I would say, for the NFL level. But The Chiefs get a big pick there, and that's already their second turnover of the game, and still in the first quarter. Now we move ahead to 14:53 to go in the third quarter. This is the beginning of the third quarter, right after the kickoff. The Browns are coming out with the ball. They're down 14-0 at this point. And they come out in a heavy set here. They've got 21 personnel, so they've got 2 running backs and 1 tight end. And the Chiefs match that with their base. So we've got the big boy Mike Pennell in here, Mike Dana, who runs stuffing defensive end. I mean, he's used as a pass rusher too, but he's always there on rundowns. And they've got their 3 linebackers in Tranquil, Bolton, and Chanel with only 4 defensive backs. So the Chiefs are going to run a fairly standard cover 2. So they're going to have Reed and Cook play the deep halves. Then they're going to have Williams and McDuffie with cloud coverage, and then their 3 linebackers here underneath. The Browns, well, actually, let's run the play, and you can see what it looks like, then we'll break it down. So they run play action here, and Winston tries to dump it off to Chubb, but the ball ricochets, and ultimately Nick Bolton comes up with it for the interception. So what the Browns do here, they motion over, and so against this cover 2, what they're going to have a clear out route over here, a go route. Then they're going to have the tight end over here running over. Jerry Jeudy is going to come and run a dig. And Nick Chubb just releases underneath. And so if you see the combination of these, Winston drops back and he gets a little pressure on the edge. This is a good job by both Dana and Karlaftis of at least providing a little bit of pressure and making him speeding up his clock a little bit. 'Cause, I mean, the Browns did a good job of kind of moving the edge rushers around the arc. So Winston had room to step up. He could have even taken off if he wanted to. But he had Chubb there for the dump off, so he wanted him. The unfortunate thing for him, if he had hung just a second later, Jeudy comes wide open in this intermediate area. But by this point, he had made up his mind to throw this to Chubb. Bolton really does a good job here. If you see him on his underneath responsibility of passing it off quickly and going over to Chubb once he notices the ball coming there. Winston, and we'll see this better on the end zone view, he throws this a little bit off target. So Chubb has to go outside the frame of his body to try to make a catch. And I'm not the biggest fan of Charles Davis as an announcer, but I thought he made a good point here, which was that, running backs, you kind of have to hit them in the numbers. If you're asking your running back to make catches outside the frame of his body, it's a little bit more dangerous. And Bolton does a great job here with his left hand. He kind of controls this ball enough to bring it back toward Chubb's body. And then once it's pinned against Chubb's body, Bolton is able to win the fight for the ball and get control without the ball hitting the ground. I just wanted to revisit Jeudy coming open here because this, is for a couple reasons here. One is that you've got the 3 linebackers. Chanel's going over to the flat to help out over here, which leaves Bolton and Tranquil in the middle. Tranquil is feeling that deep route initially in coverage right here, but then as it comes over, you would need somebody else to kind of drop into that area. It's possible that Bolton would have tried to start to do that, but he noticed the throw going to Chubb, unclear. But then the other part of this is, and this is a problem that's going to continue to be there for the Chiefs, I think, all year, unfortunately, is that Joshua Williams, for as good of a man corner as he is, and I think he is a good man corner, when he's in zone, he tends to run with people a little bit too long. Your responsibility here in the cover 2 is to be responsible for the cloud area. He doesn't have to cover the flats because clearly Chanel has taken that from him. But he's here for the intermediate sideline area. once the receiver runs a go and gets out here, that becomes Brian Cook's responsibility in his deep half. And so really, Williams should be falling off right here and in this area as Judy is coming across into it. There shouldn't be this giant void out there that Judy can run into. It's true, I mean, the way that Judy could handle that is just to stop here. And, he's there, and Reed notices this and starts driving on Judy late. But you'd really like to see Joshua Williams have that feel in zone that, okay, this guy's running through my zone. I don't need to carry him any further. And that's something time and again he has not shown the ability to do. And I think it does limit the Chiefs' ability to play zone in general. All right, so we can see the play from Winston's point of view here from the end zone camera. Play action, he hits the back of his drop and he sees Chubb come out and decides to throw it because Bolton at this point is occupied on the tight end. He throws this a little bit off target. You can see it. Chubb's having to go out and reach for it and he tips it, and look at Bolton. He was able to control it back to Chubb's body and ultimately pull it in for a great interception. That's an amazing individual effort. And that's 3 turnovers there from the Chiefs. These are the kinds of plays that just weren't going their way early in the year. If you watch these film reviews, you've heard me complain about the number of tip balls that don't seem to go to a Chief for whatever reason. And this one did. For once, there was a tip ball, and, I mean, honestly, it didn't go to Bolton. Bolton really had to reach out and corral it. Like, this was great ball skills from Bolton, much better than I think one would expect him to have. But it was nice to see, the bounce of the ball go the Chiefs' defense way, because I feel like they've batted a lot of balls, especially at the line of scrimmage, and nothing seems to fall to a defender. It happened this time, though. Now 3 turnovers so far in the game. So we're now at 12:52 to go in the third quarter. The Chiefs are up 21-0, and the Browns are starting their subsequent drive. So they've got a first down right around their 33-yard line, and they end up running the following play. Let's run it, and then we can break down what happened. So here, Winston takes the snap, and they run a stretch play to the left. Chubb has a pretty good hole, but Chanel comes in and pops the ball out, and the Chiefs recover. It's Drew Tranquil that actually came out with the ball. So let's break down what happened here. So the Browns come in heavier personnel and try to run the ball. So they've got 2 tight ends in the game. This is 12 personnel, 1 running back and 2 tight ends. The Chiefs are in their base. They only have 4 defensive backs. They've got all 3 linebackers in the game. So they had actually been doing a pretty good job stopping the run in this game, and this is one of those situations where Chris Jones is given a lot of freedom in this team. I think even as a pass rusher, he can pick his assignments at times, and sometimes will get out of the lanes that he's supposed to be in. And sometimes that happens in the run game too, although it does feel like that's been less the case this year than usual. This is one of those times, though, where here the line, what they're trying to do is they're all down blocking, and then they're bringing the tight end to insert to seal on the end. So if you watch what all the way to the tackle, see everyone's down blocking, and Chris Jones, instead of kind of flowing and trying to cut off, he tries to swipe and come around. So he tries to push the tackle on his way and come around, but runs into the inserting tight end who was intended to go get Dana. And what happens then is where Chris Jones was supposed to be is a giant hole. And so Nick Chubb runs right through it and appears to be on his way to a good gain until Leo Chanel catches him. Again, credit where credit's due. Like when the people that talk about Nick Bolton, why was Chubb not just chugging along here? Well, Bolton took the lineman, the lead blocking lineman, out in space and pushed him back into Chubb's path. So Chubb has to slow down, and it gives Chanel a chance to recollect and punch this ball out. So credit to Bolton here on this play, and Chanel does a great job punching that out. Ball's out, and you can see Tranquil is the guy that ultimately comes up with it. He kind of gets down there and gets on the ball, comes out of the pile with it. But you can see what they're trying to do even better here. So they're down blocking all the way across, leaving Dana, and their tight end from this side is going to come in and try to insert and block Dana here. But watch what Chris Jones does. Instead of flowing to fill his gap, he just swipes right there and tries to get around him and get a direct path to the running back. All well and good, except the tight end's coming to insert. So he gets in the way, and Chubb, look at the hole that Chubb has. Like, Chubb has this giant hole to run through. And the second part of this is look at Bolton. The guard's coming out to the next level to get Bolton. Bolton does a good job of getting the guard back into Chubb's path, slowing him down, and that gives Chanel a chance to backtrack and ready himself and punch that ball out. There you can see the ball go out right there. And it's still bouncing around when Tranquil dives in there, and he ends up recovering it. Big recovery for the Chiefs, and they get turnover number 4 on the day. We now move to 13-19 to go in the fourth quarter. The score at this point is 21-7 Chiefs, and the Browns have the ball at the Chiefs' 29-yard line with a 1st and 10. So a huge chance here for the Browns to really get back into this game. A game that the Chiefs have been controlling mainly because they have 4 turnovers to this point. So let's run the play that the Browns run here, and then we'll break it down. Got the tight end in motion. Winston drops back, feels pressure, and escapes to his right. He throws it to the end zone where it's intercepted by Trent McDuffie, the first interception of his career. So let's break down what happened. On this play here, the Browns come out and they are in 11 personnel. Their running back is over here. Tight end is here. And so the Browns end up running 3 verticals, right? So they're basically you go, you go, you go. And they're having Moore come here and just run a little hitch route. They bring the tight end in motion, and the tight end is actually there to block Karlaftis. They end up sliding all of the line to the left. So the line leaves Karlaftis unblocked, and it's the tight end that's supposed to insert and make that block. The Chiefs are playing cover 1. So they've got the deep safety, and then their underneath defender is Nick Bolton. And Justin Reed is supposed to guard the tight end. So everybody else is manned up, right? Manned up, manned up, manned up, manned up. Justin Reed's responsibility is the tight end, but when he sees the tight end inserting and blocking Karlaftis, he wheels around and helps Drew Tranquil, essentially doubling Jerry Jeudy. Because otherwise, what was happening was Tranquil was having to carry Jerry Jeudy vertically, which could have been a real problem. So this adjustment from Reed probably saved a touchdown. The problem with the way that the Browns ran this is the tight end, when inserting, is not able to get over fast enough to stop Karlaftis. Karlaftis just gets right around him. And he provides instant pressure on Jameis, who has to scramble. As Winston scrambled, Bolton comes up here to try to deter the scramble, and Winston misses that he's got more running free right here. This would have been a throw to make. It would have been across his body, but that was definitely a possible throw there, and Moore was open. But instead, Winston liked his chance throwing it into the end zone with the defender's back turned, which generally isn't that problematic of a decision, honestly. Oftentimes when defenders are playing the man, at least you're not worried about it being intercepted. The problem being that, according to Trent McDuffie, he looked at the Jumbotron that was in the back of the end zone. It must have been somewhere around here. He said he saw on the Jumbotron that Winston was throwing it to his side. So he got his head turned and managed to intercept it right there. What an awesome first interception of your career. So let's see it down here from this perspective. Again, the tight end is inserting, and he just really needs to hustle. Like, get over there. If your job is to block Karlaftis, like, go, go, go. He does not get there near. I mean, I wonder why he's, like, sliding his feet right here. Like, what are you waiting on? You have to go all the way over to get the end. He just took too long. Like, you should just be going all out. You got to go block that guy. And Karlaftis gets a good jump, gets around him, forces Winston out. Winston's looking downfield the whole way, but to me, this is the throw. I mean, it's not an easy throw, but this is the throw. Again, going downfield with the defender's back turn isn't a terrible decision, but McDuffie got his head around, did a great job getting feet down, got an interception. First of his career. Big play for Trent. And now we move ahead to 1:26 to go in the game. The Chiefs are still up 21-7, and the Browns have the ball at their own 45-yard line with a 3rd and 1. The Browns now have Dorian Thompson-Robinson at quarterback. He took over for Jameis Winston after Jameis's 3rd interception. He's been in the game since then, and he's trying to navigate moving the ball down the field, hopefully at least get this within one score. So let's watch the play, and then we'll kind of break it down. So he takes a shotgun snap at the back of his drop, tries to throw a seam route that's intercepted by Jaden Hicks, who Hicks does a great job kind of navigating traffic and trying to get as much as he can on the return, but ultimately only able to get down to about the 16-yard line. You know he wanted to take that to the house. So let's break this play down. The Browns are coming out here in 11 personnel. They've got one running back and they've got one tight end. And the Chiefs appear to be in their dime. I see Nick Bolton, and I think he's the only linebacker on the field. It looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 defensive backs. So the Browns are essentially going to run 4 verticals. They're sending everybody straight up the field on vertical routes. And the Chiefs are playing quarters coverage. So each person has a 1/4 of the field deep as their responsibility. So as Thompson-Robinson gets back to throw, if you notice in this quarters coverage, the Chiefs underneath defenders are playing very deep, kind of squeezing off any windows in front of their deep defenders and kind of essentially giving up the flats. You know, this is a run the clock out kind of defense that willing to give you something underneath, you can get yards, but we're not giving up something deep. So as Thompson-Robinson is ready to throw this ball, Justin Reed does a good job of making it a pretty tight window. You know, Reed's right underneath this route, and so you have to really throw a perfect ball to get it in there, and Thompson-Robinson isn't able to. His ball's just a tad high, which kind of had to be because if it were any lower, Justin Reed would have gotten a hand on it. So he tried to get it up over Reed, but his receiver isn't far enough back to throw it up and down, and so the ball sails right to Jaden Hicks, waiting for the interception. And honestly, this is a lot of playing deep safety. You know, obviously you gotta, occasionally stay with burners that are coming down the field, but a lot of it is staying over the top of things and just being at the right place. Those of you that watched the Chiefs in the early to mid 2000s will remember Greg Wesley. I feel like this was like what every Greg Wesley interception looked like. Just staying over the top of everything, wait for the overthrow, get a pick. And he had quite a successful Chiefs career doing that, and Jaden Hicks did it really well right there. You can see it here again from the end zone view. Thompson-Robinson looking for that seam route, and look at the coverage that Reed has underneath. I mean, he's so tight to the tight end, that this throw had to be high, and it was too high, right to Hicks. And then a great run back for Hicks. I think he might, if he gets his hands on some turnovers during his career with the Chiefs, he might make for some exciting plays. But it was nice to see this explosion of turnovers from the Chiefs. I think more than anything, looking at it, it seems like the ball just bounced the Chiefs' way a little bit. I think though they've had a couple moments, especially in the last few weeks, where they've appeared less disciplined on defense, especially giving up a lot to inside receivers running out routes, it does seem like this defensive performance reminded me a lot of the first half of the year before Jalen Watson got hurt, when the defense was pretty stout. The difference being that a lot of things didn't bounce the defense's way during the course of the season, and a lot of things bounced the defense's way this game. So I don't expect this defense to go forward forcing 6 turnovers or even 4 turnovers a game, but I do think that there will be a little bit of a regression. This defense can force 1 to 2 turnovers. When they play like this, solid, disciplined, and we have some other videos from this game that kind of explain the details of what they were doing here. So other segments. If they play like this, the ball will bounce their way occasionally, and it bounced their way a lot in this one, and I expect it to do it a little bit so going forward. So now here we are at 12-12 to go in the first quarter. The Chiefs have the ball first and goal on the Browns' 7-yard line. This is after they had recovered a fumble after their punt, the Roland Wallace forced fumble, and they moved the ball down to the 7-yard line and have a first and goal. And let's check out this play, and then we can break it down. So we see Worthy go in motion. Mahomes fakes to Worthy and comes out on a naked bootleg, just flips it to Juju Smith-Schuster, who gets in for the touchdown. So let's see how they set this play up. It's a really nice play design from Andy Reid. So the Chiefs come out here in 12 personnel. Their running back is Isaiah Pacheco. Their 2 tight ends are next to each other. There's Noah Gray and there's Travis Kelce. And their wide receivers are Juju Smith-Schuster on this side and Xavier Worthy on this side. So the conceit of this play is that they're going to take Xavier Worthy over in a jet sweep motion, and they're going to fake a handoff to him. Mahomes is going to fake the handoff as if they're running a jet sweep to their left. The entire line is blocking down as if this is that jet sweep going left, and Kelce is releasing for a route up here. Pacheco will lead block to continue the idea of the jet sweep, and Juju Smith-Schuster is going to try to sneak behind the line over here, and he's really the only pass option. This is kind of designed for Juju. Kelce's role here really is to take defenders away, and if there is a defender that, like the safety, that could come across, to kind of set a pick to make it harder for somebody to come over and prevent Juju from getting into the end zone. So let's see this in action. Here comes Worthy. Worthy coming on his jet sweep action, and watch the effect it has on the defense. Here's the fake handoff, and like we said, Pacheco lead block. Here comes the line. Everybody coming, blocking down. And look at these defenders. Look at them all coming over. And this safety here, what he is doing is that the Browns are doing what's called rocking and rolling their safeties, so that if you get the jet sweep motion, then this Denzel Ward over here, the corner, instead of running all the way over with Worthy, he will replace the safety, come back here, and the safety will come down and take Worthy. It's called rocking and rolling. If you remember, this is what the Philadelphia Eagles were doing in the Super Bowl. That would be Super Bowl 57 against the Chiefs at the end of the 2022 season. And the Chiefs took advantage of that by running that corn dog action where they faked a jet sweep and then came out, and this player would have vacated the area to go back and rock and roll, and so there was nobody guarding, and Mahomes had an easy throw for a touchdown. They did this twice in that game. It's actually the same action they used in the Super Bowl 58 last year against the 49ers, but the play wasn't designed like that exactly. He just ran the same action. The 49ers weren't rocking and rolling the safeties like this. Anyway, that's why you see this safety sprinting over there. And Ward is also running himself out of the play to replace that safety. So again, here's everybody. You see the safety coming all the way down. You see Ward coming back to replace. And then Juju is sneaking behind the line to try to get open. As Juju comes by, he does a good job. Because the line's blocking left, the end over here is unblocked. So he's the one guy that's not being blocked. And so he has the potential, if he were to fire down and not go into that action, of really disrupting this, because Mahomes doesn't really have much protection. So look at Juju, who does a good job as he goes through of chipping the end, making it harder for him to do anything to disrupt Mahomes. Juju is so good at doing the little things, setting picks, hitting this chip on his way out. He does all the little things that really contribute to winning. So here we go, and you can see the Browns are way out of position, right? They are all over here having gone for their run action. Nobody has leverage on Juju, who's coming the other way. And Denzel Ward, number 21, who went back to play safety, Kelsey does a really good job with his route of getting in his way as he goes by to make it harder for him to come sprint. He would have probably had the best angle to try to come from depth. But if you see, the guy who ends up getting closest to Juju started all the way over here at the snap. So the Chiefs' action really pulled the Browns all the way over. Mahomes with a little flip to Juju, and he's able to take it all the way to the pylon and in for a touchdown. Now we'll see the same play here from the end zone view, and you can watch how much this is being sold by the line as action going toward the left. So here comes Worthy. Again, you can see the safeties rocking and rolling. Here is coming up, and then you'll see Ward come back to try to replace the safety. Here's the fake action. Look at the line, all headed in this direction. And you can see, look at the Browns defenders too. Everybody coming this way, coming this way, coming this way. They get everybody over that way. And then Mahomes and Juju, here's Juju with a nice chip right there on the edge, the one guy who could potentially disrupt this play. Mahomes gets it out quickly to him, and Juju does the rest, taking it to the end zone. Really great play design for Andy Reid, and that puts the Chiefs up 7-0 early in this game. Against the Browns, the Chiefs were able to generate a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Let's look at several plays throughout this game where the Chiefs generated pressure and see if we can find explanations for how they were managing to do this, what they did that worked so well to pressure the Browns so frequently. Let's start with 10:06 to go in the first quarter. At this point, the Chiefs are up 7-0, and the Browns have a 2nd and 12 around their own 40-yard line. Let's watch the play once through, and then we'll break down what happened. Here, Winston takes the shotgun snap and sees pressure pretty quickly, and then the pocket ends up collapsing around him for the sack. As you'll notice, a flag was thrown on this play. It ended up being called illegal contact on Joshua Williams, so the sack was negated. There was a 5-yard penalty, and the Browns got a first down. But let's look into this pressure and what ended up happening here. So the Browns are in 11 personnel. They got one running back and one tight end. And the Chiefs have matched, actually looking like they are in nickel. So they've got 5 defensive backs, 3, 4, 5. And their 2 linebackers here are Tranquil and Bolton. So you'll see here, they're kind of mugging up. Right here at this point, they have 6 at the line. So the way that the Browns end up trying to block these 6, they're going to take the right tackle to block Tranquil. The right guard is going to get Dana. The center is blocking here. Left guard for Chris Jones, and the left tackle for Leo Chenot. Nick Bolton, if he comes, will be the responsibility of the running back. So what ends up happening at the snap is that Dana drops off, and he's going to play underneath zone coverage in case there's any route that he can undercut over there. So that's going to end up leaving their right guard essentially blocking air on this play. He ends up doubling and helping on Charles Omenihu, but remember, no one on the line was blocking Nick Bolton. So Bolton comes through first and is picked up pretty well by the running back, but fairly deep in the pocket, enough that it causes Winston to try to find an escape route. He's not comfortable standing back there. Nothing's really collapsed on him yet, but seeing Bolton flash and then being taken by Chubb right there has caused Winston's eyes to come down, and he's looking at the rush now. And we're not at all at a place yet where receivers are going to be breaking open. He tries to get out, and Bolton sticks with him. Chris Jones then sees him and wheels around. You can see he kind of comes around, and they end up being able to collapse the pocket on him and bring him down for the sack. The Browns defenders or receivers never really had an opportunity to get open, but even then they were pretty well covered throughout this process. The illegal contact call on Joshua Williams, honestly, is a little weak to me. Not because I don't think it was illegal contact. I think it's just because this kind of stuff is at least I should say not consistently called. He first contacts him within 5 yards and kind of rides with him through the route. I'm not really sure how refs determine when that is and isn't okay. Usually if someone initiates the contact without kind of riding them down the field, they will call it. But I feel like we see many instances of them riding receivers down the field, even though technically you're not supposed to contact a receiver after 5 yards. So kind of hard to say. I feel like the officiating on this kind of thing is quite inconsistent. But it was called that time, and so the sack did not end up counting. So here we can see the blitz over here. Oh, sorry. I think I called Turk Wharton a Menahu. It looks like a 90 from that deep view, but that's actually Turk Wharton. So here, again, the way that they block this, Tranquil blocked here. The guard takes Dana. The center takes Turk. The guard here takes Chris Jones, and the tackle takes Leo Chanel. And so when Bolton comes through, the C's are going to part for him, and Nick Chubb is going to be responsible for blocking him. So you can see as Bolton comes through, there's a little bit of like a play action there too, but Winston's not comfortable, right? Seeing, even though there's some degree of Bolton being held up by Chubb, Winston's just not comfortable in there. And it looks like the other thing that might have helped, and I should have pointed this out from this area, is that there isn't a lot of room for him laterally to escape. I mean, I guess he could have really dropped out of the pocket and escaped, but Tranquil and Chanel did a pretty good job of getting enough depth that Winston, for whatever reason, didn't feel comfortable escaping out of the back of the pocket. So then when he started moving around, he was looking for a gap up in the pocket to move, but the Chiefs had collapsed the pocket pretty well. And look at Tranquil backtracking to prevent that from happening either. So this pressure, if you were looking for a cause, really came on the heels of a good blitz that when Bolton came down the middle, it just made Winston uncomfortable enough that he wasn't able to go through his reads and give Chris Jones credit for collapsing the pocket. Oftentimes, not often, almost always, you need more than one guy doing a good job in collapsing things in order for a pass rush to work. So Bolton's initial rush did well, but everyone kind of held their ground and moved things in, which resulted in a sack that ultimately didn't count. Now this is later in the same drive. The Browns now have 3rd and 6 with 8:18 to go in the first quarter. They're still down 7-0, trying to convert a first down here. Let's take a look at the play, and then we'll break down what happened. Here, Winston takes the snap and feels pressure, tries to escape to his left, and Karlaftis tracks him down for a sack, ultimately forcing a 4th down. The penalty flag you see on the ground is for illegal formation. They felt that Jermaine Ifedi was lined up too deep in the backfield. Technically, your helmet is supposed to break the belt of the center, and so they felt he was too far back and called illegal formation. But let's kind of break down what the Chiefs did here. This is another blitz. This time they've got Justin Reed walked up right here, and Jaden Hicks is going to end up blitzing from the slot. Bolton is walked up, he ends up not blitzing, and they do drop Mike Dana to get underneath the wide receiver. So see, they do blitz here, but the actual cause of Winston escaping is the great edge rush from Karlaftis and from Chris Jones. And mainly Karlaftis, he really gets a good jump around the edge and causes Winston problems. They do push him around the edge, but Karlaftis' pursuit is really something here. And as Winston escapes, Karlaftis comes back and tracks him down and gets the sack. But Chris Jones, again, does a great job with his rush over here. Again, you kind of need multiple people doing this, because when Jones collapses here, instead of it just limits the options of where Winston can go. You know, the two collapsing there, they almost just ended up with the sack right there, but he wasn't able to move left at all. He had to come up and around, and Karlaftis was able to track him down. In this situation, Karlaftis won so well that even if Winston had run left, maybe Karlaftis would have just run him down there too. It's kind of hard to say. The other thing I wanted to note about this play is the play of Shamari Connor. So Mike Dana does a good job right here coming out, and his job when he pops out during a zone blitz is to stay underneath a quick throw opportunity, right? Winston honestly doesn't even seem to be looking in that direction, but Dana comes down under there, and then watch as Winston starts scrambling to his left. Watch Shamari Connor, who's following Judy, as Winston starts coming up to the left, and Judy gets out of a position where he would be in Connor's area, and it would be harder to make that throw for somebody who's escaping this way. Connor then doubles back and covers over here, which is Winston's only option. So Connor right here probably caused the sack to happen by preventing any opportunity of a throw over here. If Connor had continued over with Judy, then there would be an opportunity for a throw out in front of this wide receiver. But Connor's decision to double back was great here and prevented a throw and allowed Karlaftis to track Winston down and get a sack. So this play, even though a blitz was involved, really the edge rush is what was the strong part of this play. So again, the people that are going to come, Karlaftis, Reed, O'Menahue, and Jones, and then late Jaden Hicks is going to come in to make the fifth guy on the blitz. But see, as they come in, it's not like they got a free rusher. Jaden Hicks was actually picked up pretty well by the running back. Reed was picked up. It was that Karlaftis and Jones won around the edge, and that's really what caused this. Karlaftis, with his pursuit, did a great job, and then real props to Shamari Connor for making a throw here impossible. You can see Jameis pump fake here. He wanted to make a throw, had nothing, and the Chiefs collect a sack. We now jump ahead to 4:28 to go in the first quarter. The Browns are still down 7-0, and they're facing a 3rd and 10 at their own 30-yard line. So let's run this play real quick, and then we'll talk about what happened. Winston drops back and feels pressure. He escapes up the right and throws a nice pass to Jerry Jeudy for a 17-yard gain and a first down. So the part that I'm interested in for the purposes of this segment is the pressure and how the Chiefs were creating it. So this time, again, they've got a lot up at the line, right? They have their 4 down linemen. Nick Bolton's up at the line, and remember that whenever the Chiefs have slot corners and condensed splits, they're always threats to go. They're always threats to blitz. So, and McDuffie is at least trying to create the impression that he might be blitzing on this play with his motion. McDuffie ends up not blitzing. Bolton ends up not blitzing. This ends up just being a 4-man rush. But this is the kind of rush that kind of tells you what happens when Chris Jones is left one-on-one. So because Bolton was mugging up at the line, if you notice, they've kind of assigned the left guard to him. So they're not able to double Chris Jones. A lot of times they slide protection toward him, but since the left guard's accounting for Bolton and then the left tackle's over here, center is at Dana, the right guard, Chris Jones, the right tackle, George Karlaftis. So one of the purposes of mugging Bolton up there was to give Chris Jones a one-on-one. And look at what he does with his one-on-one. He just dispatches the right guard and gets right into the backfield. And Jameis ends up coming up because the B gap is vacated. And that's one thing that, remember, we talked in a different segment, we were talking about the run defense and how Chris Jones kind of freelances a little bit with run defense. And that also is the case in pass defense. In fact, I would say even more so. Chris Jones has been a lot more disciplined of a run defender recently, but he has the green light in these passing situations to scout his matchups and also to kind of rush as he pleases. So here he doesn't maintain rush lane integrity, but notice how the guys rushing around him, Dana and Karlaftis, are used to this. So as Jones kind of breaks in and gives a lane, look at Dana loop around, look at Karlaftis loop around. They're ready to kind of pick up for that vacated area, and they both end up actually getting a hit on Winston. So Jones kind of just fires through. He gets the one-on-one matchup against a guard, kind of destroys any opportunity of like a standard pass from the pocket. And Karlaftis and Dana do a good job of coming in and pressuring, but Jerry Jeudy managed to get open against Joshua Williams, and he makes a nice catch, a nice throw from Winston, and they end up getting a first down. And that kind of shows the importance. That's the secondary has to hold up its end of the bargain. Even with a good pass rush, if guys are running open, you're going to get a first down. And so that's what happened here on this play. You can see again, Bolton really showing blitz, McDuffie showing blitz. And so in their protection, they end up assigning this guy to Bolton, which leaves Chris Jones then one-on-one with the right guard. And just look at his rush. He gets him back. And here's where he kind of vacates his gap, right? But look at the immediate reaction. Dan is coming. Karlaftis is coming. They're used to this. Chris Jones gets the green light to do these kinds of things, and his teammates are used to compensating for it. But nice play by Winston and nice route by Jeudy to get open and get a first down. So this instance was the 4-man pass rush was getting pressure. But as you see, in order for that to really come home, the back end has to hold up its end of the bargain too. All right, we're now into the second quarter. There's 14:23 to go in the second quarter. The Browns are still down 7-0, and they have a 3rd and 5 at their own 35-yard line. Let's run this play, and then we can discuss what happened. So here the Chiefs are showing a 2 deep. Winston drops back to throw, and as the pocket collapses, he escapes to his right and gets tracked down from behind again by George Karlaftis, his second sack of the game. So let's look at the details of this pass rush. In this situation, the Chiefs only rushed 4. So this is just their top 4. The thing that I don't really understand is that the Browns decided to slide protection toward Mike Dana instead of Chris Jones, leaving him one-on-one. And if you see here, this is a nice group rush here. You see Karlaftis and Jones collapsing the pocket on Winston's right. And Omenihu actually does a really good job of creating pressure on Winston's left. So all 3 of these guys are winning their individual matchups, while Dana's holding up pretty decently against his one-on-one. Then as Winston escapes to his right, look at the coverage. He just doesn't have anywhere to go with the ball. This honestly, if you're in Winston's position, might have been a time to run. Because he's got nothing, and by trying to buy time, unfortunately Jameis just doesn't have the greatest awareness. You can't be kind of jogging around looking for somebody while you have someone like Karlaftis tracking you down from behind. That guy's motor is relentless. In this position, when you've gotten out and you don't have a throw, I feel like you tuck that ball and go. At least try to get something. But instead, you can see him moving laterally, trying to find something, and he gets tracked down from behind for the sack. You can see here, I wonder if part of the reason, now that I see it from this angle, they probably weren't able to double Chris Jones because of how wide he aligned. This is probably intentionally, this is good alignment from Chris Jones, making it really hard for the center to make it all the way over there for a double team. So instead, he helps out over here on Dana. So I shouldn't have blamed the Browns. This is Chris Jones' alignment that allows him to get a one-on-one here. This is very intentional from him. So here, look at how much these 2 are walking back their assignments, and then Karlaftis too is collapsing it. This is a great sign for the Chiefs' 4-man pass rush. If we can have 3 effective rushers here, and this right here is where the flag was thrown. This is a holding penalty, as he's grasping Chris Jones as he's trying to pull the other way. And Karlaftis takes Winston down from behind. So Chiefs fans should be extremely encouraged by this performance from the 4-man pass rush, and by the fact that the secondary in some of these situations is holding up in man coverage on the back end. This is how you get sacks. I know Mike Lombardi, who now will be GM over at the University of North Carolina, he said something that I found to be interesting. I remember hearing him say once that counterintuitively, turnovers are often a reflection of your pass rush because the quarterback has to get the ball off quickly and makes bad throws. And sacks are often a reflection of your coverage because you get that pressure initially, but if someone comes open, you'll get the throw off. But in these cases, when you have tight coverage, that's when someone like Karlaftis can backtrack and get a sack, ultimately ending the drive. Now we move ahead to 7:41 to go in the 4th quarter. The Browns have a 3rd down at the Chiefs' 39-yard line. They're down 21-0 at this point, and so are probably in 4-down territory if the Chiefs just get a stop right here. Let's run the play and then let's break it down. So the Chiefs end up mugging up the line. Charles Omenihu gets around the corner and strip sacks Jameis Winston. Winston falls on the ball, but they end up losing significant yardage back to around the 50-yard line. So let's break down what happens, because this is a very fun-looking play from the start. Defensively, again, the Chiefs have really mugged up the line of scrimmage. So there's 6 on the line right here. The 2 added people are Justin Reed down here and Nick Bolton. But as you'll see, Reed falls back out and Hicks comes up to take his place. Then at the snap, you'll have Bolton drop out, Wharton drop out, and then Karlaftis fakes that he's coming in and he drops out too. So they've got the protection all set up to account for Bolton and Wharton. So I will say the center reacts pretty quickly to Wharton dropping out and shifts over to help out on the blitzing Jaden Hicks. The guard and the tackle are unoccupied, though, the ones that were supposed to be looking at Bolton and Karlaftis, respectively. In addition to all that, we also get a late slot blitz from Roland Wallace. So the Chiefs, through all of that, end up sending only 4, but it ends up being 2 linemen, Omenihu and Jones on the end. There's Jones, there's Omenihu, and 2 safeties. Or I guess Roland Wallace is a nickel corner, but a slot corner and a safety. 2 defensive backs and 2 linemen, but it's still a 4-man rush. It's a simulated pressure. And they've got a defensive end and a defensive tackle out in coverage, and Bolton drops back too. As you can see, they're kind of just playing in what looks like a kind of quarter shell defense. Unclear whether this is supposed to be 2 deep or 4 deep. It's always tough to tell with Joshua Williams because he tends to carry people deep. So it's possible that Williams is supposed to stay down for this and Cook's responsibilities here. But it's also possible that this is like a 1, 2, 3, 4. But when Williams is not the person to use as the judge because he tends to carry people far deeper than he's supposed to. But anyway, this is about the pass rush. As crazy and exotic as all of this was, kind of moving people around, this was a win in just an old-fashioned manner. Charles Omenihu kind of dekes inside initially, swats hands and gets around, and does a great job of swiping at the ball. This is so encouraging that Charles Omenihu is playing at this high of a level so early. This is only his 2nd game back from the ACL. And the hope was that maybe he could play at this level in the playoffs or if the Chiefs are fortunate enough to get back to the Super Bowl. But the fact that he's already here is such a good sign. I mean, look at this. Quick win around the edge, swat the ball out, and the loss of yardage here made it impossible, at least in Cleveland's mind, for them to go for it. So they ended up having to settle for a punt. Here again is the win. I mean, this is just one man dominating a play. Look at him get Ifedi's hands off of him, swipe the hands, get around, swat at the ball coming around, forcing the fumble. Unfortunately, Hicks did a good job trying to get in and get that ball, but Winston used strong hands to grab onto it. Again, this sack, I mean, for all the exotic pressure and everything, this sack was a one-on-one win from an edge rusher. A great sign for the Chiefs' 4-man pass rush going forward. We jump ahead to 4:12 to go in the third quarter. The Browns are still down 21-0, and they have the ball first down and 10 yards to go at the Chiefs' 49-yard line. Let's check out the play here, and then we will break it down. So Winston drops back to pass here and gets pressure right up in his face. He tries to escape, and then the second wave takes him out. And the Browns lose about 13 yards on the sack. So let's break down what happened here. So the Chiefs pass rush, in this case, they just rush 4. There is nothing exotic, nothing crazy that they do here. The one thing that they do with their alignment is they have Turk Wharton right up against the center, then Chris Jones head up against the guard, and Karlaftis head up against the tackle. So it creates a situation where they can't double Chris Jones because they're each lined up here. If they tried to bring the center over, he's lined up head up with Turk Wharton. Turk Wharton goes straight into him at the snap, preventing him from helping out. So they end up getting Chris Jones one-on-one with the right guard, and they have the back try to help and chip on his way out with the route. I don't know that I've ever seen a defensive tackle get chipped before, but Chris Jones just walks the guard right back into Jameis Winston's lap. And at this point, he's still dropping back in his drop. He's trying to find someone to throw now. Judy is breaking across the field, but Bolton's underneath it. So he doesn't have a quick throw, and when his guard gets into his lap, his eyes go down. He's trying to find some way to escape. And this is where Wharton manages to get off of his block and has just like a clean runway as Winston spins off to come after Winston, who sees him at the last second and ducks down into the sack. So the coverage held up for long enough. If you see, no one is like running open clearly, but by the time Chris Jones had gotten his blocker into Winston, there was no throw coming off now. Winston was just looking for a lane, and great job by Turk being the secondary pass rusher and cleaning it up. Again, we can see their alignment here. Look at how they're head up against the center, guard, tackle. They can't double team Chris Jones. The running back tries to chip on the way out, has no effect whatsoever. Jones just walks his man right back, and then Winston tries to get around. Jones gets to the other side, and Wharton is there to clean up for the sack. Again, another big play just by the 4 down linemen. When the Chiefs are able to get pressure with 4 like this, it's a whole different ball game, and they were able to do that consistently through this. We jump ahead to 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. The Browns have a 1st and 10 at their own 42-yard line, still down 21-7. Let's take a look at this play, and then we'll break it down. Here, Bolton comes firing through as this Tranquil off the edge and get a quick sack of Jameis Winston. So let's take a look at how this happened. The Chiefs have 5 lined up here at the line of scrimmage. They've got their down lineman and Drew Tranquil. And then watches at the motion. So Bolton initially is standing up closer to the A-gap. And then watch the A-gap being the gap between the center and the guard. So this gap right here in between the two of them. So he's kind of looking to be over there. Then he drops back, and right at the snap, he runs right toward the B gap, which is the gap between the guard and the tackle. And the C's part for him. At the same time, Tranquil is able to get across off the edge unencumbered. He runs right by the tight end. And interestingly, the guard is coming out trying to help out. We'll try to see if we can figure out why that happened. And then Winston sees the unblocked Bolton flying through, and the running back has no chance of getting up there to impede Bolton's progress. He just kind of tosses him aside. And Winston spins right into Tranquil, so the two of them combine to bring him down. So you can kind of see how we got here based on the alignment again. The Chiefs seem to really be messing with alignments in the front this week, and it really worked out for them. So the first thing that's interesting is that watch Chris Jones at the snap. Right now, he is aligned on the outside shoulder of the guard, right? So as he takes the snap, he comes in and comes up over the center. So he moves up over the center, and at the same time, Wharton comes into the guard. Now, we know the tackle has to block Karlaftis, but it feels like this is almost like the equivalent of setting a pick here. So Wharton and Jones are occupying the center and guard, and the tackle has to worry about Karlaftis. So it almost creates necessarily a void for Bolton to be able to run through. And them really intentionally look at Wharton attacking the inside shoulder of the guard. Intentionally moving the guard inside just widens this gap. So Wharton's kind of playing this way. Karlaftis is playing that way. Bolton has a huge gap, and the running back just can't get there fast enough in pass protection based on how quickly Bolton timed this. Look at him. He's ready to go as the ball is being snapped. So he's coming with a ton of momentum. The back is not able to get there in time. And then on this side, look at Dana's alignment. Mike Dana's lined up on the outside shoulder of the tackle. and watch him come in and just throw his shoulder right into the tackle. Like, there's no way for the tackle to come out and try to block here. Dana's coming right into him. So it's almost like Dana, Jones, and Wharton kind of occupied the necessary blockers for Bolton and Tranquil to just come off free. And Bolton timed his blitz so well that he just fired through. Tranquil was right there to help clean it up, and the Chiefs got a big sack on the blitz. We now move ahead to 40 seconds to go in the third quarter. The Browns have a 3rd and 15 at about their 37-yard line. Still down 21-7. So let's take a look at this play, and then we'll break down the pass rush. Chiefs blitz. Initially it seems picked up, but then Winston's forced to scramble. Can't get a throw off as Karlaftis comes and closes, and he ends up just tossing it out of bounds. It ended up being called intentional grounding. We can look at that throw one more time. This ended up being called intentional grounding because he didn't get the ball to the line of scrimmage. If you all remember, the rule is that once you're outside the tackle box, you don't have to throw it at a receiver anymore. But even if you throw it away, you have to throw it away past the line of scrimmage. The exception being that if the contact or hit from a defensive player caused the ball to go short, and the refs determined that they didn't think that that was the case at this time. But let's get back to the pass rush. So the Chiefs again kind of mug it up. Justin Reed walks all the way down to the edge. Bolton comes and walks down, and they end up blitzing 5. Bolton kind of comes in and shows blitz, and then he backs off and ends up guarding the running back. So the Chiefs blitz 5. But if you see initially, the blitz is picked up okay, right? Like, they're definitely collapsing the pocket, but Winston has a second to survey before things get crazy. And this is where the back end is so important, that the coverage is really great in this scenario. So as Winston drops back, he's got nowhere to go with the ball, and his escape gives Karlaftis an angle. And look at how quickly Karlaftis closes here. He closes so fast on Winston and gets him to throw that ball away. But it's not like the Chiefs had a free runner. They did collapse the pocket very well, and this is just a testament to how well their pass rushers played today. They kind of, you see Karlaftis coming in, Jones, Dana, and Amenahue all like starting to get pressure. And that's enough to cause Winston to bail, which gave Karlaftis the angle to come get him, force the incomplete pass. You can see it again from the end zone view. Bolton drops off, but you see the pressure does end up coming. Look at Amenahue getting in his face, Chris Jones pushing back, and then Karlaftis detaching, and really quite a great close by Karlaftis. And you can see the trajectory of the ball doesn't seem to change a ton, which is probably why the refs determined they didn't think that Karlaftis' hit was the reason this pass didn't go to the line of scrimmage. So it's called intentional grounding, but another great pressure, this time on a blitz, but it was really just a nice collapse. It was more than the play design. The pass rush was able to collapse the pocket once. We have a 1st and 10 now at the 2-minute warning. The Chiefs are up 21-7, and the Browns have it first down at their own 36-yard line. Dorian Thompson-Robinson's in the game now for Jameis Winston, and the main reason I wanted to show this play is because it's hard to explain. So let's take a look at it and see if we can understand what the heck was going on. So DTR is taking the snap from the shotgun, and Chris Jones comes free through the B gap and forces a throwaway. I have no idea how that happens. I mean, the simple answer is there's some mistake in the protection, but I don't know who is responsible for setting the protections when Dorian Thompson-Robinson's not in the game. I mean, if that was the intended goal of the protection, that's a stupid protection to set. But I don't know. I'm not sure what was going on. Let's take a look, though. The Chiefs look at the snap have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up at the line. So how they get accounted for is going to be important. It looks like the tight end. So the tight end seems to be responsible for Mike Dana, but it seems like the left tackle thinks he's responsible for Mike Dana as well, which is probably where the confusion starts here. The left guard clearly seems to think he's responsible for Nick Bolton. And the center is helping over to his right as well. I mean, these two drop. So if we imagine the left guard is responsible for Bolton, then the center would be responsible, then right guard, right tackle. So it's possible that this was the setup. It was right tackle, right guard, then the center, left guard Bolton, but then you'd say left tackle Chris Jones and tight end Dana. It's probably what the protection was supposed to be. And so it looks like the error is on the left tackle here, thinking that he has Dana when actually he has Chris Jones. And so the C's part here, Chris Jones is right in Thompson Robinson's face, and he has no chance at all. All right, so let's see it from the end zone view and see if this makes sense. So what we're hypothesizing here is the protection was set up as so. Here, center to Amenahu, left guard to Bolton, left tackle to Jones, tight end to Dana. And everybody else seems to be operating that way. Here comes the left guard. Look, the center's looking over at Amenahu, as is the guard. These two drop out, so it becomes difficult to say who thought they were going to get him. Amenahu kind of moves over to the side, so he gets the attention of many. But definitely it seems like these two are expecting kind of this way. He's going out, so I'm guessing it's his fault. Ifedi's fault that he was supposed to block Chris Jones, but wow. I mean, it's shades of the Super Bowl when on a third down, Chris Jones came flying free. I mean, he should never be unblocked. And he came and absolutely blew up this play. So really the kind of story of the pass rush in this game was multifaceted. You know, obviously Spagnuolo is going to have his good blitzes, and, you know, we hope that that will continue throughout the year as it has for his time in Kansas City. But the encouraging thing was that it seems like consistently Chris Jones and Charles Amenahu are going to win one-on-one matchups. They're going to win at a good enough rate to be problems. And if George Karlaftis can also have his share of wins like he did in this game, suddenly this is really a formidable pass rush. So that will be the thing to see. You know, Amenahu coming back seems to make this a plus pass rush, and the question is whether Karlaftis can play like he did today. If that's the case, it'll be really scary. Also have to add the assist from the back end. The back end was much stronger in coverage, and I think that led to a couple of the sacks that we saw, those backtrack sacks, the longer developing sacks, because there wasn't anywhere to get the ball out. So if the coverage plays really well, you'll see a little bit of those longer sacks as well. But this was a very promising game if you want to look at the underlying ideas behind the pass rush. That I think the foundation is there with Amenahu and with Chris Jones, and the question is how much help they're going to get, both from the back end and from guys like Karlaftis to win their share to really push this into an elite pass rush. Since Steve Spagnuolo came to Kansas City for the 2019 NFL season, one of the most consistent qualities that we've seen in Chiefs defensive backs is the ability to come up into the flats and make open field tackles. This is something that's no accident. the Chiefs seem to coach this up heavily, expect this from their defensive backs, and draft and recruit in free agency players that have these qualities, that have an interest in coming up and getting their nose into things, making big hits, and that are consistent, sure tacklers. This game against the Browns was no exception. There were many instances of defensive backs flying up the field and making big hits, making sure tackles in the open field to prevent longer gains. We'll look at a couple of those instances and dive into those plays in a little more detail. Starting with this one here with 3:57 to go in the first quarter, the Chiefs are up 7-0, and the Browns have the ball with 1st and 10 at about their own 47-yard line. Let's run this play, and then we'll discuss it. So Winston takes the snap, fakes a handoff, and fires a quick screen out to the left. McDuffie manages to get in the way, and Brian Cook cleans it up with a tackle. Ends up being about a loss of 3. So let's check this out in a little more detail. The Browns drop back, and the Chiefs are ready for this run action. They come in and fake the handoff, and look at the movement coming from the Chiefs in. They swing it out to the left, and they really have a kind of 2-on-2 situation. So the idea is that if they can get a good block on McDuffie, they could have more with a 1-on-1 with Brian Cook. If he can make him miss, this might be a huge gain, maybe even a touchdown. So they get what they want. They isolate the Chiefs over, but look at the aggressiveness with which Trent McDuffie comes and takes on the block. That's the first part of this. The Chiefs' defensive backs are never afraid to be physical. This is a trait that they seem to really look for. He pushes the receiver back into Elijah Moore. If you notice, McDuffie's the one initiating here. He's the one that kind of is wanting the contact, getting into the contact, pushing the receiver back into Moore, and then look at Cook come around and make the tackle. Just nothing there. You can see it here from the end zone view. Winston does a good job getting the ball out there quickly, but it's McDuffie taking it to the blocker that really sets this up. And then even though he's being blocked, he's able to pin the receiver against the sideline as much as possible, and Cook comes out over, makes the tackle, and the Chiefs stop him for a big loss here on first down. We now jump ahead to 10:59 to go in the third quarter. The Browns have a 2nd and 2 at their own 15-yard line, and they are down 21-0 at this point. Let's take a look at the play they run here, and then we'll break it down. Jameis keeps it here on a zone read and gets demolished by Chris Roland Wallace in the flat. Another example of a defensive back coming up and making a big play. So here, this seems to be just a pure zone read concept. In this case, the read defender here is the edge. They're not going to block Leo Chenal on the edge. And if he crashes down like he did here, then the read for Winston, since he's crashed down, is to pull this and run. If Chenal would have come out to try to contain, then the read would have been to hand this ball off. Unfortunately for the Browns, the Chiefs are playing a zone defense, and Chris Roland Wallace is just sitting out here waiting. I think that the way that this play was designed, they thought that this motion out to the left would widen the defensive back, allowing Winston to have a lane to run. But the way the Chiefs played this, it just got Hicks to move a little bit wider in his coverage, but Roland Wallace stayed in place. So this play ends up being, this much more effective in man coverage if you had like this guy manned up on the receiver and would run out with him, or even if he was most concerned about the receiver with his primary zone responsibility to move out. But that wasn't the case with the Chiefs defensive call. So it was just an open field tackle opportunity for Chris Roland Wallace, and he broke down well and gave Winston nothing. Don't want to challenge the Chiefs in the open field, those defensive backs. Winston didn't really seem like he wanted too much either. He kind of hung back and took the hit. But it's another example of when you get Chiefs defensive backs coming up, they make tackles. And this ended up being a loss on 2nd and 1, giving a 3rd and about 3. We now jump ahead to 8:21 to go in the third quarter. The Browns have a 2nd and 7 at the Chiefs' 41-yard line. They're currently down 21-0. So let's check this play out and then kind of break down what happened. So Winston takes the snap. He throws a short route to the right, and Jaden Hicks makes a great tackle in the open field, an ankle tackle, to limit it to a gain of 2 yards. So the Browns here come up in a 3-by-1 set with a tight end over here and a running back here. This is 11 personnel. The Chiefs end up running cover 2 man, but they have Drew Tranquil as a deep safety along with Justin Reed. So they're manned up underneath. And so the Browns run this route combination where they send their 2 receivers on the outside deep and then run an out route underneath it. The idea of hoping to clear out some coverage, then hopefully with the out route, if these breaks a tackle, you should be able to get the first down when you've cleared out the man coverage and you have the safeties deep. But this is where the Chiefs defensive backs, this tackling ability is so crucial. It just saves so many yards and puts teams in difficult positions. Here, Hicks' ability, he almost got faked out. He did get faked out by this move. This inside cut was really good, but Hicks did a great job of just grabbing his ankles and making sure he limited the gain. Chiefs defensive backs so consistently are able to make big tackles in the open field, and it really makes a huge difference. For example, the next play after this was Charles Omenihu getting a strip sack and ultimately forcing a punt. Had Moore been able to gain another 5 yards on this play, that would have been a first down. That play wouldn't have happened. But this great tackle from Hicks set it all up. We now jump ahead to 6:56 to go in the fourth quarter. The Browns are down 21-7, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson's now in the game. They're trying to make a last gasp push, get this game within 1 possession, and see if they can pull off a miracle. They've got 1st and 10 at the 50-yard line. Let's run the play, and then we can break down what happened. Here, DTR takes the snap and throws a slant to Judy, and Joshua Williams makes a tackle for a 5-yard gain. So first of all on this route, so the Chiefs are playing single high here, and they've manned up everybody, but they seem to be using their robber defender to help on the tight end on the inside here. But if you notice, McDuffie actually spins off. It looks like he spins off at the throw. I was wondering if he was coming to help double Judy, but it looks like he just spins off at the throw. But let's watch Judy's route, because this is a pretty awesome route. Joshua Williams is actually a pretty decent press corner. And watch the steps that Judy takes here in this route. He comes up and fakes the go. Look at him come like he's going to run a go route. And he gets Joshua Williams to turn his hips to the outside. And look at the stop here. Boom. He stops and comes back in. That is really good stuff. That seems unguardable when you run a route like that. And to do that and get the timing down with Thompson-Robinson, that he gets that throw in there. But the recovery from Joshua Williams to me is equally impressive. Like, Williams takes that's a great route, cuts in. Williams then closes the distance and makes a sure tackle right here to limit this to a 5-yard gain. I can't get over how good of a route this is from Jerry Jeudy. This is really cool. He just comes in, and the way he just stabs out and comes in, his footwork is immaculate. Look at how hard a step he takes right there with his right foot. boom, and just does enough to get open in tight coverage. And I mean, honestly, Williams' recovery is quite impressive as well. And of course, a sure tackle coming from a Chiefs defensive back, limiting that play to only 5 yards. You can see him as he catches the ball. Williams is already on top of him, brings him down, limits it to a 5-yard gain there. Now, this is the very next play of the game. The Browns had that 1st and 10. They had the slant to Judy. Joshua Williams made a good tackle. So now it's 2nd and 5 at the Chiefs' 45-yard line. Let's take a look at this play, and then we can break it down. Thompson Robinson throws to the flat, and McDuffie just completely upends Ford in the flat. Ultimately, a loss of 6 yards. So here, the Chiefs are playing a cover 1. So the responsibilities here, they've got Williams on this corner, Reed on the tight end, Tranquil is your robber in the middle of the field, Bolton is responsible for the running back, McDuffie's here, and Johnson's here, and Hicks is your deep safety. So they come with a clear out on this side, an out route, and then a flat route. And since Bolton's the guy covering the flat, when Thompson Robinson surveys the field and doesn't like anything he sees, he just goes for the dump off. And look at the closing speed from Trent McDuffie. McDuffie has the incredible ability of closing distances fast, but staying under control. You see him come quickly and make big hits, but you rarely see him miss. Like, watch him accelerating, but still being so under control, hits his target. And how often do you see a guy get upended when he's not jumping? Great tackle from McDuffie. It's fitting that the last tackle in this video is by the best tackling defensive back on the team, and I don't know, possibly even in the league. It's not like I watch all the DBs tackle, but goodness. McDuffie just comes up and there's no chance. Emblematic of the Chiefs' ability to tackle in the flats, and they did such a great job of it in this game, taking away yardage, preventing hidden yardage gains, and keeping the Browns under pressure, ultimately helping the Chiefs come up with their 13th win of the season. We're now at 10:21 to go in the second quarter. The Chiefs are up 7-0, and they have a 2nd and 10 at their own 25-yard line. Let's check out this play that they run, and then we'll break it down. So Mahomes is in the gun. Gray comes in motion, and Mahomes quickly fires it out to Pacheco, who makes a nice move and ends up getting about 15 yards for a first down. So let's look into this play, and it might look a little bit familiar to those of you that have been kind of paying close attention to Andy Reid's play calls. So first thing to note, the Chiefs are here in 11 personnel. Pacheco is the running back, Noah Gray's out here, the tight end, and their wide receivers are Juju Smith-Schuster, Nico Remigio, and Justin Watson. The Browns are playing cover 1 man. So they've got one deep safety, and they are manned up across the board with one defender that is the robber in the middle of the field, and that's this one right here. So he's got the running back, and then we're manned up like this. Now, Gray is going to come in motion and tight, and so they'll switch responsibility here. Now, he'll take Gray, he'll take Juju. So this is one, we've actually done a bit of a breakdown on this concept, one that Andy Reid, in the breakdown we showed that Reid had used it as far back as 2013. Reid against man likes to send routes from one side of the field in one direction to try to create interference, and then get somebody going the other way so that their defender has to run through traffic to keep up with them. A lot of times he likes to do this for the running back. If you guys remember that stretch where I think it was 7 straight weeks in 2022 when Jerick McKinnon caught a touchdown, they used this concept at least 3 different times during that stretch to get him open. One of the times they accidentally did it against zone, And McKinnon still caught the touchdown. It was against the Raiders in Vegas. But that's what the Chiefs are doing here. They're going to run Noah Gray over here. They're going to run Juju over here and try to get Pacheco out on a swing route before and hopefully his defender has to run through all this traffic and won't be able to keep up with him. Remigio will also come as a secondary option if that doesn't work. They'll kind of have a mesh concept going. And then Watson runs a clear out up top. So let's see it in action here. There you can see Gray and Juju going, and this is the defender that is responsible for Pacheco. You'll notice no chipping over here. Everybody's manned up, even on Myles Garrett. So it's important that this throw get out quickly. And Mahomes does just that. He drops back and fires it in. Unfortunately for the Chiefs, Pacheco's defender actually does a pretty good job navigating the traffic. He gets through, but Mahomes gets this on Pacheco quickly, and Pacheco makes a nice catch and is able to put a move on right there and get inside and get a lot of extra yardage after the catch, ultimately gaining 15. The reason why this play was important to me, not just because we will see this concept again, Andy loves running this. In fact, they ran this same concept, if you remember the failed fourth down in the game against the Browns. This same game, the failed fourth down when Mahomes got injured, on the third down play, they were running this concept to Samaje Perine. Jordan Hicks just had it really well covered. But the reason why this is important to me, besides the fact that this concept Reed uses a lot, is it doesn't feel like this timing from Mahomes and his backs this year has been great on these kind of fire it in, hit him on the run route. It was very nice to see Mahomes, they kind of got this cleanly. He got the pass in. Pacheco made a nice catch, and they were able to, he caught it in a position in stride and cleanly enough that he was able to quickly break down, make a move, and get yardage after the catch. To me, that's going to be really important going forward. The way that the Chiefs have, they're playing tight coverage on everybody. They get a lot of man coverage now. Being able to trust that you can get a quick hot one out to the running back and let him make some moves, I think will be very useful going forward. From the end zone view over here, you can see the interference that is they're trying to run here. I don't mean interference like a penalty. I mean like trying to get in the way and make this harder for number 30 to get through. But he honestly does a great job of navigating the traffic and getting out there, which is why the perfect throw and catch is important, and it allows for Pacheco to make that move and get a first down. I think it's very encouraging to see this kind of connection between Mahomes and Pacheco out of the backfield, and hopefully it'll continue as such, because that'll be very, very helpful for this offense if teams have to worry about the running back out of the backfield as a viable passing threat that can get yards after the catch. Suddenly that opens things up and defenses will have to adjust. We're now at 7:10 to go in the second quarter. The Chiefs are still up 7-0, and they have a 3rd and 9 at about the Cleveland 34-yard line. Let's check out the play that they run, and then we'll come back and break it down. So they're out of the gun. Watson comes in motion, and Mahomes rolls to his right and takes off. He ends up running for about 10 yards and a first down, getting out of bounds around the 24-yard line. So let's look into that play. First of all, just the point that it always seems like Mahomes is able to do something critical with his legs on a big third down, and this was no exception. This drive ultimately ended in a touchdown, so converting this third down was very important. The Chiefs for this play were in 11 personnel. Their one running back was Samaje Perine, one tight end, Travis Kelce, that gets you 11 personnel. They had DeAndre Hopkins up here, Xavier Worthy in the slot, and Justin Watson outside, although Watson would run in motion before the snap. The Browns would play a cover 3, so they're going to get Juan Thornhill to come down, and their 3 deep are here, here, and here. So they got 3 deep, and then they've got these 4 that are going to be your underneath defenders. He's going to drop. He's going to come up. And the Chiefs route combination for this, they're going to have Worthy come out toward the boundary in an intermediate route. Justin Watson's going to run a deep over. DeAndre Hopkins is going to run a dig. And Travis Kelce is going to come and sit at about 5 or 6 yards. Then they're going to have P. Ryan just come out to the flat. The line does a pretty good job of kind of walling things off here, which is what kind of prompts Mahomes to start. Mahomes, and this is something that I think differentiates, people get a little, I think they they lump a few things together a little bit too much. You know, when people talk about happy feet, when you're saying like someone's exiting a pocket that's clean, they didn't have to run. I don't think of Mahomes doing that every time he gets accused of doing that. Now, to be fair, he has done that a little bit this year, for sure. It has happened. There have been times when he's escaped and he doesn't need to. Here, though, is an example of the other thing that Mahomes does, which is when he feels like the initial concept hasn't given him like a clear place to go for a first down, he starts to move with his feet to see if he can manipulate zone defenders and create openings to throw. And the nice thing is that if that doesn't happen, then he can just try to run. So he uses his movement skill, which is an elite skill in the NFL, his ability to move defenders with his motion running around, and he's able to create new passing lanes. So I think that's different from when people say like, well, he's running around and he could have just stayed in the pocket. That's true, but if he gets to the back of his drop and he doesn't like what he sees, he doesn't think anybody's coming open, then I feel like it's fair for him to run and try to create. And it looks like the purpose of this creation here, he hits the back of his drop and he's looking over at Kelce, who's short of the marker, but he's got two underneath defenders right on top of him. I think Mahomes is thinking, well, if I can start to move somebody, maybe I can create an opening for Kelce. Now, unfortunately, Juan Thornhill's thinking the same thing. He really hangs with Kelce to the point that I think Thornhill really trusts his speed, which he should. He's really fast and really athletic. But he trusted it just a little bit too much, and he hung with Kelce to the very last second, to the point that Mahomes had enough of an angle that he was able to take this for a first down. And this was just a good job by Mahomes. You know, when he drops back, seeing here, he's got two guys over here. There's no one that's an immediate threat. It's not like he'd be running into pressure. So he came up, in my opinion, the purpose was to see if he could get it. Like if Thornhill bites, Kelce can reel around and Mahomes can just hit him. And I think that was the goal here. This was playground mode. Thornhill didn't bite, and Mahomes knew that he had enough to get the first down. The one negative it would have been interesting to see as Mahomes hits the back of his drop. If he had just hung out in the pocket for just a second, it would have been interesting to see if Worthy would have popped open. Because it's always tough to call an open guy open when the quarterback's running the other way against zone. Like, these defenders are not as carefully looking at their men on the other side of the field because they know they have a lot of time to react. If you throw this ball across the field, the defenders have a lot of time to react. So you will see guys that look open across the field on a play like this. Like, it doesn't matter that Worthy is this open when Mahomes is here running that way against a zone, right? If Mahomes were to stop and turn around, you bet these defenders would be closing in on Worthy. But if he had just stayed there, I wonder how open Worthy would have gotten. Would this safety have gotten this much depth and let Worthy out to the boundary? I think he would have probably been in the same place because he's keeping eyes on P. Ryan too, although I would argue that it's okay for P. Ryan to catch the ball there. They could collapse. But that's the one thing. It would have been interesting to see how open Worthy would have gotten if Mahomes had hung out. But Mahomes got the first down, and that's what was needed from him. And he has done that so much on third down this season, and he particularly has been effective the last couple years doing this with his legs. Here we see it again. The line does a really good job. This Jawan Taylor, it looks like he took the inside rush really well and managed to they just created a wall. And Mahomes had more than enough room to escape, gets the first down. Like I said, this drive ended with a touchdown, so a big play from Mahomes to keep the chains moving. We're now at 4:46 to go in the second quarter. The Chiefs still up 7-0, and they have a 2nd and goal at the Cleveland about 6-yard line. So let's see the play that they run, and then we'll break it down. Send Ferkser in motion. Juju comes back over in motion. Kind of simple play action. Mahomes has nowhere to go, stays in the pocket, and finally hits Noah Gray in the back half of the end zone for a touchdown. So let's see what happened here. So the Chiefs come out in a heavy personnel here. They're in 13 personnel. That's 1 running back, Isaiah Pacheco, and they've got 3 tight ends here. From right to left, this is Anthony Ferkser, this is Noah Gray, and this is Travis Kelce. They have 1 wide receiver on this play, that's Juju Smith-Schuster. So they end up motioning Ferkser over to the left, and this is the formation that they roll with. Kelce is set in tight. Gray is up on the line of scrimmage. Ferkser's up on the line of scrimmage here, and Juju is back off the line. The Browns essentially play like a man-match zone. So they man up each of the outgoing pass catchers, which the 3 main pass catchers here going out on routes are Gray, Ferkser, and Juju. They man those guys up, and then they have everybody else kind of match in zone. Travis Kelce actually stays in to block, so this will be a nice one to watch. He blocks a defensive end one-on-one before releasing late for his route, but this will be a nice one for the Travis Kelce can't block camp. And so what the Chiefs do with their route combination, Juju runs a jet sweep motion and then comes out to the front pylon. And then Ferkser and Gray just run crossing patterns. So as you watch, Mahomes does kind of a somewhat of a play action here, but you see the line slides to the left. The guard, Mike Caliendo, is able to help toward Myles Garrett, and Kelce's taking on a defensive end all by himself. You see as Gray comes through, what they do is they have basically the Browns note Gray's route direction, and so this player ends up taking Gray one-on-one, whereas on this side, Ferkser is taken by him. Juju, as you can see right here, is going to be taken by him. And so everybody else is in zone coverage, and they're just trying to kind of fill open areas. So you can see the guys running with Ferkser, Gray, and Juju. And then you have underneath zone, underneath zone, underneath zone, deep zone over here. So initially Mahomes drops back, nobody's open. Ferkser's coming across, but there's a zone defender here. Juju is manned up. Gray is manned up. And then Kelce releases late. And watch what Kelce releasing does. So the defensive end actually ends up coming back out with Kelce. And he's playing an underneath zone. And then the 2 other underneath defenders all come for Kelce. So Kelce's taking up a ton of attention. And then you notice that leads with Ferkser having come over and drawing the 1 other deep defender. There's a huge void now in the back of in the end zone because of the attention. Like these underneath defenders have basically just come over to Kelce. So there's a major void. Meanwhile, Pacheco, after his play action, has come and helped in the pass protection. So once this defensive end that Kelce was blocking comes and releases with Kelce as he comes out on his route, he gets replaced by one of the underneath zone defenders on a late rush, but Pacheco holds up well in pass protection. I think the reason why this guy ended up coming was because Mahomes, after sitting for a little bit, went into the creation mode again. He was trying to create some open zones. He started sliding to his right, but he did a good job of fighting the urge to scramble out there with the guy coming. He hung back in the pocket, and Noah Gray, in the meantime, seeing that his route had run its course, doubles back. And again, Kelsey had taken all of this attention, so look at how wide open the center of the end zone is. So Gray did a good job. He's running his pattern. He stops, comes back, and he's right there wide open in the middle of the end zone. Mahomes has been given enough time to work back to Gray, throws it in the end zone for a touchdown. This was very good on many levels. One being the pass rush was held in check by the line. This was due partially to contributions from Kelsey and then Pacheco in pass protection. They were aided by the fact that Myles Garrett was not a factor on this rush, because what it looked like from the close-up replay is that Joe Thuney kind of scraped the chin strap piece that goes down the helmet from the top, and that seems to have hit Myles Garrett in the eye. So if you notice, he ended up not essentially being a factor whatsoever. He took his helmet off as he was hit in the eye. But the other thing that was good besides the protection was that Gray did a great job working to open space, and Kelsey is still demanding a lot of attention. So this isn't the first time that the Chiefs have used the fact that Kelsey gets underneath attention to create openings in the end zone and get a touchdown. It's nice to see what can happen when Mahomes gets time. It's unfortunate that that hasn't always happened this year. So we can see the play again from the end zone view. And remember, what we're going to get is Juju running a jet sweep behind and coming across. Ferkser's going to run over and carry a defender. Gray's going to run over and meet his defender. The line is all going to block to their left. Kelsey is going to take this defensive end and then release. And Pacheco is going to come out and add to the protection over here when Kelsey releases. So here we go. There goes the line. Kelsey's taking a defensive end one-on-one. As he releases, the end comes with him. And here comes the late rush to try to pressure Mahomes. And Pacheco picks this up really well. Mahomes hangs in there and then sees Gray coming back and hits him for a touchdown. This put the Chiefs up 14-0 nearing the end of the second quarter. We're now at about 13 minutes to go in the third quarter. The Chiefs are up 14-0 and they have a 1st and 10 at the Browns' 21-yard line. Let's take a look at this play and then we'll break it down. Here, Mahomes has got 2 in the backfield. Worthy motions out of the backfield left, and Mahomes tosses a swing pass to him, and Worthy runs it in for the touchdown. So let us look at how that happened. So first of all, the formation setup here. The Chiefs come out in, this is 11 personnel. They've got 1 running back, Kareem Hunt, and 1 tight end, Travis Kelce. Wide receivers are Juju Smith-Schuster, Justin Watson, and Xavier Worthy, who's lined up in the backfield to the right of Mahomes. The Browns end up being in cover 1, so they're manned up here. Manned up, and they've got 1 man on Xavier Worthy as well. What the Chiefs do here, actually, that's not the right person on Xavier Worthy. Actually, it is probably. When he does his jet motion, they switch responsibilities as he comes over, that same kind of rock and roll idea, and so then the deep safety becomes Denzel Ward, whereas right here he looks like the one in cover 1, and that's probably, he would have been the deep safety if Worthy hadn't motioned, but Worthy's motion makes him the deep safety and him the one that guards Worthy. So what the Chiefs do is they fake a run action to Hunt, and you notice they're going to pull Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey, and they're going to block down. They're really selling this run here. And look what it does to the Browns. Everybody's coming in to play the run. And ultimately, at the same time, they have Worthy coming over to his left, and Mahomes, I think the key to this play, in addition to the strong sell of the run, having pulling guard and center always helps make it look like a run. The key also is then how Mahomes is able to make this throw in one quick motion. So there isn't time for the defense to react. So it's a quick fake, like he comes right out of the fake. Hunt hasn't even fully passed him, and he's already in the motion swinging this out to Worthy. So that creates the situation where it's basically a 2-on-3. You got Juju and Watson. If they make their blocks, then Worthy has to beat one man, and Worthy can beat one man. And he beats him around the corner and gets in for a touchdown. Juju Smith-Schuster and Justin Watson are the ultimate, do the little things guys on this offense. They're the guys that if you need someone to set a pick, if you need someone to block downfield, it seems like they're the ones that are called upon to do these things, and because they do it well. And I want to remind people, and in particular, this comes into play for me when you have discussions about Travis Kelce blocking. When you're talking about receivers and tight ends blocking, it doesn't have to look pretty. You just can't lose. If you're a tight end or a wide receiver and you don't lose your blocks, you're a good blocker. You don't get style points from pancaking people. It doesn't matter if you're dominating your block. As long as you're not losing your block, you're doing your job. And I think sometimes people lose sight of that, where it's if you're judging a tight end on how well they block stylistically, it doesn't matter. It's way more valuable for them to catch passes, and to be useful as a tight end, you need to at least have the threat of being a blocker that is better than a receiver blocker. You just have to not lose. Anyway, it's kind of a tangent, not really related to this play as much, but when you look at these receivers blocking, again, Juju's block doesn't look pretty, but you know what? He doesn't let his guy tackle Worthy, and that's the important thing. He doesn't lose. Watson does a good job of combining with looking like he's running a route with blocking, so he gets his defender way downfield and not able to help out whatsoever on this play. But really well run play by the Chiefs. Great design. They get what they needed. They get Worthy one-on-one, and he is going to win that more often than not. Here again, you can see how much this looked like a run. Look at Smith pull, look at Creed pull. Here's the action to Kareem Hunt, and look at the defense. Flowing in, flowing in, flowing in. There, like we said before, there are only 3 people that ultimately have any chance of stopping this play because of that run action. And the other part of it that's so important, look at Mahomes. He fakes that and immediately comes out and gets this to Worthy. This timing is so important. The defense has no chance to react here. And Worthy's off to the races. One last thing about this play, I think people that are interested in fantasy football, the question came up, was this a run or was this a pass from Mahomes? And if you remember, the key to determining run versus pass, unfortunately, we don't have a straight down the sideline view here, but it's about where the ball is when it releases and where the ball is where it's caught. So it's kind of hard to tell, but if you look at the angle of the yard marker and then you extrapolate that same angle to where Mahomes' hand is, it looks like it's about the 33.5 yard line is where the ball is when Mahomes releases it. And where the ball is here, where Worthy catches it, again, it's hard to extrapolate because of the angle that we're at, but this looks at about the 33. So this fairly clearly is a backwards pass. It looks, again, it's kind of tough from this angle to see, but again, you have to kind of extrapolate based on the angle of the yard marker. But this really looks very clearly in front of the 33 yard line if you follow that line. And then where Worthy catches it, this looks much more to be in line with the 33 yard line. So I feel like the NFL made the right call here. This is a backwards pass. This is a run by Xavier Worthy, which is how it was scored. Apologies for Mahomes' fantasy owners. But you know what? If you had Mahomes as your fantasy quarterback, you've probably been unhappy most of the year because this hasn't been an extremely prolific fantasy season from Patrick Mahomes anyway. So this is probably just more of the same for you. At least he's not throwing those picks anymore. Anyway, The Chiefs went up 21-0 at this point. What happened to the Chiefs offense in the second half of their win against the Browns? Now, I'm not going to pretend like the offense was firing on all cylinders in the first half, but the Chiefs had 311 yards of offense in this game, and by the time we get here, which is 12:59 to go in the third quarter, the Chiefs have gained 238 of those 311 yards. After that, we've got 3 and out, 10-yard drive, 3 and out, 3 and out, 10-play 41-yard drive that ends in a failed fourth down conversion, and then a garbage time drive with Carson Wentz. So we've got 5 meaningful drives with Patrick Mahomes that come after this point in the game when they scored a touchdown to Xavier Worthy. In those 5 drives, 3 of them were 3 and outs. One, they gained 1 first down and then punted, and the other one was a 41-yard drive that ended in a failed fourth down conversion. In those 5 drives, I've picked out 10 plays to look at. Let's look at those plays in some detail and try to figure out if we can get an answer as to what was going on with the Chiefs offense in the second half of this game. All right, so this is the first drive after the Worthy touchdown. So the Chiefs are up 21-0 at this point, and they've got the ball. This is the third quarter with 12:42 to go in the quarter. The Chiefs have 1st and 10 here on the 44-yard line of the Browns. So one of the most common refrains about what happened in the second half was people lamenting how little the Chiefs ran the ball. So we'll talk a little bit about that too. And on that note, on this first down, I want you to take into note how many people the Browns have up in the box. So this is not at all a run favorable formation, right, defensively. Like the Browns have 8 right here in the box, and they have, their corner here, because their receivers are in condensed sets, even these corners are fairly close. It could come fit the run. But their decision to put 8 in the box and drop 1 safety deep makes it, not a favorable situation for the offense to run the ball. Like, you can understand why a team would want to pass out of this formation. The Chiefs are here in 12 personnel. They've got Kareem Hunt, the running back. Travis Kelce's over here, the tight end. Noah Gray is the other tight end over here. The wide receivers are Xavier Worthy and DeAndre Hopkins. They're going to start out, well, let me run the play once and then we can come back and look at it. So here's the play, a throw out right to Kelce, and it is broken up in the secondary. So let's look into what happened there and why we were in this position. First of all, the Chiefs are devoting a lot of attention to Myles Garrett here on the edge, right? Joe Thuney's playing left tackle. He is not a tackle. He's probably the best option, at least the Chiefs felt like, of what they got now, but he's still not a tackle, even though he's a good lineman. And they're giving him a lot of help, partially because you'd probably give anybody a lot of help against Myles Garrett. And honestly, I feel like Thuney acquitted himself pretty well in this game. He did as well as you could expect. But the reason I'm bringing it up now is because Noah Gray is going to chip Myles Garrett on his way out to the flat. So he's like a delayed dump-off option. So he's really not really someone we're looking at as a serious threat in the pass game on this play. So Kareem Hunt is also just going to come out into the flat. So you really have 3 main receivers you're looking for in this route combination. Juan Thornhill's the middle of the field safety. He's going to drop back and play deep middle. And then you're going to have the corners on either side drop back 2 for a cover 3 zone look. And you're just going to have the underneath guys drop out in zones. The Chiefs are going to have DeAndre Hopkins come up and curl. They're going to have Xavier Worthy come in and run a deep corner. And then they're going to have Travis Kelce run a corner pattern off of that. It's a pretty common combination that they do here. So as you see this combination develop, here's Mahomes hitting the back of his drop, and Kelce's breaking out right here into the corner. So what Mahomes sees as he's deciding to throw this ball, right, he sees Worthy clearing out the defender on this side. This is backside, so he doesn't see Hopkins open over here. Hopkins does a good job finding space, but by the time Mahomes is moved over here, it's hard to gauge how open somebody is when he's not looking in that direction. Once he turns around, defenders will start moving back a little bit, so that window is actually tighter than it looks. So Mahomes comes here and he's readying to throw, and he sees Worthy carrying this guy, Kelsey breaking out into the open area underneath, and so he's really worried about the underneath defender right here when he's placing the ball. He doesn't want this guy to be able to drop back and intercept this. This is a throw he's made to Kelsey many times, but Juan Thornhill knows Patrick Mahomes. He played on the Chiefs for 4 years. He knows the route combinations. And if you look from middle of field safety, he's shading already toward Kelsey as Kelsey goes into his break. And as Mahomes releases this, Juan Thornhill just commits. And Juan Thornhill is extremely fast for a safety. He's just a fast player in general. And he manages to sell out entirely, dive in front of this ball, and knock it down. I mean, it would have been an awesome interception if he'd been able to intercept it, but he was at least able to knock it down. The underneath defender comes and makes a good attempt, but this throw would have gotten past him to Kelsey if not for Thornhill's effort. And you can see here, Mahomes, if you look from this angle, Mahomes is actually doing exactly what he's supposed to do in this situation. If you watch at the snap, he's staring right down the middle, trying to hold Thornhill here in the middle of the field to open up that corner for Kelsey. And then he comes over and throws it. But Thornhill knows these guys. This is just a really good anticipation of what the play is, and just Thornhill's really athletic. Like most safeties, even if they knew that this was coming at when Thornhill did, wouldn't be able to get there. But you can see with Mahomes' ball placement, the reason why I pointed out that he's worried about this underneath defender, this ball is to Kelsey's back shoulder. Watch it come in. See, this ball comes toward Kelsey's back shoulder, and that makes it easier for Thornhill to get a hand on it. The reason why he doesn't put it out in front of Kelsey comes, you can see it easier from this view. Remember, this is the guy he's worried about. You're not thinking that the middle, he's already thrown the ball, so Thornhill looks closer, but let's go back to when he's about to throw. He's about to throw here. Kelsey's breaking in this direction. This isn't the guy. I mean, maybe you could argue with Juan Thornhill, you should be worried about it because he's athletic and he knows you guys. But in general, in this position, you're not worried about that guy. You're worried about that guy. So Mahomes is intentionally putting this toward the body or back shoulder even of Kelsey to prevent this guy from dropping out in front of Kelsey and picking the pass off. So, but it's unfortunate that ball placement made it easier for Thornhill to get to the ball. So look at it over here. You can see since the throw is a little behind, it makes it harder for him to get involved, but it makes it easier for Thornhill to get involved, and Thornhill knocked the pass down. This was a good offensive play. It was just a better defensive play. So it was one example of one way in which, if this pass hadn't been read so quickly by Thornhill, if he hadn't got there, that's a big gain for the Chiefs and a big start on a drive where they ultimately didn't gain any yardage. All right, so after that incomplete pass to Kelsey, the next play was a run. For those of you who are wondering why they didn't run the ball very much, the next play was a run by Kareem Hunt that gained 0 yards. So now the Chiefs are in third down. They're at 3rd and 10 at the 44-yard line. And let's see how the play goes. So here we got Mahomes dropping back out of shotgun, throws it deep left to DeAndre Hopkins, who appeared to make the catch live, but when you watch the replay, unfortunately, the nose of the ball barely hit the ground as it was bobbled around, so it turned out to be an incomplete pass. But let's get into the play here. So the Chiefs are out here now in 12 personnel again. They've got one running back, Samaje Perine, and their tight ends are Noah Gray and Travis Kelce. The wide receivers are Xavier Worthy and DeAndre Hopkins down here. Okay, so as we get set up here, they've got Myles Garrett now. Is that Myles Garrett over here still? That is Myles Garrett over here. So Perine is the one helping over here, and Noah Gray is in chip helping over here on the other end. It's helping out Juwan Taylor. So again, we're looking at a route combination where you basically have 3 guys that you're looking for as like serious routes. Now, the Browns kind of start showing too high up here, but they actually end up rotating the safety down, and Thornhill is going to be on his own as the single high. This safety that's coming down actually is going to be in man coverage on Samaje Perine, because they're going to end up looping a blitzer around to try to get to Mahomes. So they're playing cover one man, and they have nobody in the middle of the field. And the Chiefs route combination, they're just running Hopkins on a go route, they're running Worthy on a go route, and they've got Kelsey up in the middle. He does kind of a choice route, ends up running it over. So you see as the play develops, Mahomes takes his drop, and he, seeing the safety in the middle of the field, who Thornhill is really giving attention to Kelsey here, Mahomes decides he likes this for Hopkins. Since the defender's over the top, the idea is to throw this with more of a back shoulder location so that Hopkins can come back for it. Typically, when you have somebody beating the defender, that's when you decide to throw it up over the top. When you have the defender behind, you can throw the ball behind and allow your receiver to come back to it, which is what Mahomes does in this situation. He gets it back to Hopkins, who makes a good play on the ball, but as he gets to the ground, the ball pops up in the air. And it's right here that, unfortunately, the nose of the ball just happened to graze the ground, because as it came up and came back down, Hopkins actually came down with it. They initially ruled it a catch, but with replay assist, they saw the nose hitting the ground, so this was overturned. The Chiefs actually challenged it and lost the challenge because of that. And so you can see here, Mahomes very early is looking over to Hopkins. This is his first read. This is his first guy. When he sees he's in that pure one-on-one look, he's going to go for it. He makes the catch, comes down with the ball and loses it as he hits the ground pretty hard. And it is too bad that the nose of the ball just hit the ground. But you can see here now the stunt was actually picked up really well by Tooney. So what the Browns are trying to do is what we've talked about in previous film reviews. They're bringing their guys in here and they're trying to loop a guy around. Their hope is that the pressure coming in like this is going to get Mahomes to bail to his left, and then the looper can come out and get him, similarly to what the Chargers were doing last week. But look at how well the line passes it off here. Tooney shoves the guy, Garrett, over into this interior line, and he comes and he picks up the stunt perfectly from Hicks, which is one reason why Mahomes has a decent amount of time to try to make this play. Creed kind of loses the interior guy a little bit because Caliendo has to pass him off in order to get Garrett on the stunt. So there's still some kinks to be worked out, but this is pretty well done. Definitely well done enough for Mahomes to get this throw off. Unfortunately, Hopkins just isn't able to come down with it. And it's a tough catch. And I know this is the third straight film review in which I'm saying, like, you know what? Hopkins is going to catch these kinds of balls. Like, the first time it was like, well, that was unusual. He's not going to drop passes like that. Last week it happened again. I still maintain, DeAndre Hopkins makes catches like this. That's what he does. And he's had a rough run of 3 straight games where he has dropped 3 very difficult catches. I still am not anticipating this to be a long-term problem. I think that this connection will be great. He will make tough catches down the stretch, and the Chiefs will be okay. But to put a bow on this drive, this was a 3-and-out in which they ran 3 plays. They gained 0 yards. The first play didn't really make sense to run the ball. They were 8 in the box. It was a good concept. Thornhill read it and made a really great play and knocked it down. Second play, they ran it. Third play, they had it. They had it to Hopkins. Hopkins just wasn't able to come down with it. So, honestly, this was not an offensive drive that would really worry me a lot. It's unfortunate they weren't able to move the ball, getting to at least field goal range, but the plays look good. Unfortunately, one was an execution issue, one was the defense just making a good play. So now we're on to the second drive after the Worthy touchdown. We are on the 4th play of the drive now, so the Chiefs have gained a first down. Again, for those of you talking about why the Chiefs didn't run the ball, in the first 4 plays of this drive, the Chiefs have run the ball twice for a total of -1 yard. On second down, they ran it for 1 yard, and now after getting the first down, the play before this play, Pacheco ran the ball for a 2-yard loss. So now the Chiefs are in 2nd and 12, which is generally, that's a passing situation here, so we can understand why they didn't run it on this play. And additionally, another reason why they may not have run it is that the Browns are showing blitz. So they've got these two linebackers up here mugging things up. This looks like a risk for, when you've got everybody down here, this is a risk for like a cover 0 look, right? They might actually be sending a 7th, but then they do kind of drop these two back. So maybe, they're going to actually end up in a single high situation. But right pre-snap, it looked kind of like this could be cover 0. They might be set in the house here with no deep safety. Then they're kind of dropping somebody back, but they are blitzing. So the Chiefs need a hot situation, and let's run the play real quick and then break down what happens. So Mahomes drops back, fires the ball quickly, and it is a short incompletion. So what happened on this play? So Mahomes, Kelsey, Hopkins, and the offensive line were all on the same page that this is a blitz. We need something hot. We need to gain some yards. So the line shifts this way, and they end up leaving Myles Garrett as like a free guy. Hunt could chip him or get out into the flat. Hunt just gets out into the flat here. So Garrett's coming free. They're going to have to throw quickly. So Kelsey comes up to run a little hitch. Hopkins does the same thing on this side, runs a little hitch. Mahomes, knowing he has to get the ball out quickly, keys on Kelsey's hitch and wants to throw it immediately. However, on this blitz, these guys are actually blitzing. The edge guy is showing blitz and then dropping into a zone right in front of Kelsey's hitch. And so as Mahomes gets ready to throw, he sees the guy drop and just throws the ball into the dirt. If you can see, he just throws it right downward right there into the dirt. He dirts the ball because he's already started his throwing motion, and he's not going to be able to bring this one back in, and he doesn't want to throw an interception, obviously, or put the ball in harm's way, so he just throws it into the dirt. So again, this play blown up just by the fact that the Browns happen to have the right play call for what the Chiefs wanted to do in this situation. Unfortunately for the Chiefs, like if Kelsey if their kind of pre-snap check or their read had been him running an out, this could have been perfect, exactly what you want. But since he was running just a hitch right there, it happened to be right in front of, or the defensive end happened to get right in the path of where the ball was supposed to go, and Mahomes wisely just throws it into the dirt. You can see it here from this angle. Mahomes is coming back, and he's immediately going to Kelsey, and you look, the end is already dropping back here, and so Mahomes just tosses it right into the ground. And so that's another play kind of blown up by the fact that the Browns had a good call. They were set up really well for that situation. Again, not really a situation where you run the ball. They're at 2nd and 12 because they just did run the ball and lost 2 yards. So they came out here also because the Browns seemed to be showing pressure, and they did come with pressure. So not a good situation to run into. The Browns had the right play call for the right situation, and the Chiefs, unfortunately, were looking for the hitch. Like I said, if they had been going with an out or something else, this might have been a nice little gain and set them up for 3rd and manageable. But unfortunately, the Chiefs now are stuck in 3rd and 12, and we're going to have to try to convert that one. So now we're on the very next play. They failed to convert that 2nd and 12. Now it's 3rd and 12 with 4:29 to go in the third quarter, and Chiefs are trying to find a way to convert a first down here. So let's run the play real quick, and then we'll come back and break it down. So Mahomes drops back, feels pressure from his left, so he rolls right, not able to get a throw off, and so eventually just throws it away in order to preserve some field position and not take a sack. So let's get into a little bit of what happened on this play. So really the initial issue is, we can talk personnel and everything first. We've got one running back, one tight end, that's Pirine and Kelsey. That gives us 11 personnel. And we've got Worthy, Worthy, Watson, and Hopkins as the 3 wide receivers. The first issue with this play here is that they are chipping over here on Myles Garrett, but unfortunately the chip's coming from the outside, and he pulls a nasty spin move to get to the inside. So as Mahomes goes back, he has Myles Garrett coming free. And so before the routes can really develop here, if you look, everybody's still trying to get deep. This is longer developing routes because of the distance need to cover. It's 3rd and 12. And Kelsey started out by helping out on the edge over here, so he hasn't even come out in his route yet. But by the time Garrett comes free, nobody is open at this point, and Mahomes ends up having to bail to his right. So he starts to run. He has Kelsey right here. But he doesn't want that because the first down marker is right there. So at this point, Mahomes turns down the little dump off to Kelsey because he's trying to see if he can do something to get the first down. And so he, as he usually does, he kind of keys in on Kelsey to see if they can work something together and get something open. He does have Hopkins backside, but he's running this way, and this is a long throw, so Hopkins is not really open. Like maybe if he had been in the pocket and he didn't have to scramble, if he had been able to hit Hopkins right out of his break right here, like imagine instead of running that way, Mahomes is standing in the pocket without having had this pressure, he could probably have hit this and gotten a first down. So the pressure kind of ruined the possibility of that route. Now when you're running the other way, you can't really do that. This throw would take way too long. Hopkins is not open from that distance. Like I said, he turned down Kelsey. Worthy does a good job of kind of, as he's coming in, looking and feeling the zone here and trying to find an open area. Mahomes, unfortunately, at this point right here, he has keyed on Kelsey, and Worthy is, kind of stopped right there. By the time that Mahomes could look at Worthy, he's got this defender in his face. So again, it's the pressure that kind of ruined this. Like the Hopkins backside throw, he couldn't look at because he had to run. The Worthy throw, if this tackle that did a great job getting out there had been a little slower, then maybe he would have been able to look up and get to Worthy. But the only real option he had was Kelsey down here, and that wasn't going to get you a first down, so he wasn't going to take it. So he ends up not being able to evade the tackle, and seeing as he's got pursuit from the backside, it's not like he can really cut in. So he ends up having to throw this ball away, which is unfortunate because Worthy, to his credit, did a really great job finding a void here. So if Mahomes wasn't dealing with the defensive tackle right in his face, this could have been a situation where he would unload and get one down to Worthy for a first down. Unfortunately, it wasn't possible in the circumstance. So again, if you look, Mahomes is looking down the middle. Hopkins is about to break and get open. If Mahomes had another half a second to a second, he might have been able to hang in there and get Hopkins right here. And Hopkins was about a yard or two shy of the first down marker. He might have gotten a first down. But instead, Mahomes has to bail, feels the pressure. You can see he's looking at Kelsey. Kelsey's off screen right now, but he's looking over at Kelsey, but Kelsey is short. He's still eyes on Kelsey, and this is about where Worthy starts breaking toward the sideline open. But Mahomes is now concerned with this guy in his face. He can't set his feet and get a throw downfield. And as he thinks about cutting back, he sees the pursuit coming. He knows he can't really cut back toward the middle of the field. Now the tackle's on him, and he ultimately just has to throw it away. So this was a play, the third down, really blown up by that pressure from Myles Garrett. He's an all-pro, reigning defensive player of the year. Got to hand it to him. Sometimes he's going to get you and blow things up, and that's what happened on this play. It was just completely blown up by great pressure from Myles Garrett, and the Chiefs were forced to punt again. All right, so now we're on the third of the 5 drives that we've been talking about. And this play is a 2nd and 10 that the Chiefs have on their 30-yard line with 3:13 to go in the third quarter. So the Browns have just scored their touchdown on a 62-yard run. So it's now 21-7. Chiefs getting the ball back after that. So first thing to note as everybody gets lined up, we're again going to continue to have that discussion about running the ball. So this is a 2nd and 10. And if you, I didn't have time to do in this video to do every single play, but the first down play, the Browns had one person, one deep safety, everybody else up at the line, so not a favorable run look, and it was an incomplete pass. Here, again, they've got 7 immediately in the box. They're only going to have one deep safety, so they have an extra safety to come here in the run fit. Again, this is not a favorable look to run the ball against. They have numbers on defense against the run, and 2nd and 10 is not always a great time to run, even though Andy Reid does it quite a bit. But so let's run the play, see what they do on 2nd and 10, and then let's break it down. So they end up sending Juju in motion. Mahomes drops back, the pocket collapses, and he's not able to get the ball to Juju over the middle. It gets knocked down by Jordan Hicks. So if we look at the play design here, so what they're really trying to do, against this, what ends up being a cover 3 zone. See, so you've got 1, 2, 3 dropping back, and they've got defenders underneath. So it's usually a pretty favorable combination to throw underneath against. So once you've kind of extended the defense back, then there should be some pockets that open up, especially here in the middle of the field, and you can see both Juju and Kelce are trying to find voids in the zone. So Mahomes drops back, and if you see from his perspective, the Browns do a great job of crushing this pocket. It's collapsing immediately, like he just hits the back of his drop and doesn't even get a second to survey. Look at where everybody is. Everyone's still trying to find their openings as Mahomes is trying to get rid of the ball because he's got so much pressure. So he ends up having to step through the pocket, but Myles Garrett does a great job of seeing that and wrapping around to provide added pressure. And it's really too bad because if you look at it here, Juju finds a void in the zone, and so does Kelce. And the reason why the middle linebacker moves toward Juju because Mahomes is escaping on the right side and the right, it looks like the right B gap. So the linebacker kind of shades over this way. Kelce comes wide open right here. But with Myles Garrett coming over, there's no hope for Mahomes to be able to survey and throw. He is completely rushed, and you're definitely not going to try to throw it across the path of a giant defensive lineman with an incredible wingspan. So this option to Kelce is negated by the pressure. If Mahomes had been able to sit in the pocket, it's likely that both Kelce and Juju could have been open on this play, because what happens is as Mahomes moves to his right, Hicks kind of leans that way and cuts off the passing lane, and Kelce comes more open. But if Hicks had kind of been sitting in the middle, it's possible Mahomes would have been able to fit this throw in. Unfortunately, as he comes up, Hicks does get in the way, and he tries to make this throw low, and Hicks is able to get a hand on it and knock it away. You can see it better from this view. As Mahomes drops back, the pocket collapses almost immediately, like he's got nothing. And so he tries to step up through, and this is where Myles Garrett does a great job coming around. Because what happens probably if Garrett doesn't do that is Hicks has to come up, and that provides an opening for him to throw this to Juju. But since Garrett gets in there, Mahomes tries to fire it right in there, and Hicks does a good job. He's already kind of shaded over. And like we said, it's also unfortunate that Garrett was there because Kelce was open on the backside, but this is not a realistic throw to try to make, to throw from this position with a guy coming over this shoulder. To try to throw across your body that way is just, I mean, Mahomes is good, but that's pretty much impossible. So a 2nd and 10 goes incomplete, and the Chiefs move to 3rd and 10. All right, so this is the next play now. We're in 3rd and 10. Chiefs come out here in 11 personnel. They've got P. Ryan, the running back, Kelce, the tight end. 3 wide receivers are Watson, Hopkins, and Xavier Worthy. Let's run the play, and then we can break down what happened. So Mahomes comes in the gun. They send Watson in motion. Mahomes drops back and flushed right. He throws and over the head of Xavier Worthy, who was running a deep over. So what the Chiefs are going to do on this play, they've got Watson coming in motion here, and they're going to take both Watson and Hopkins over and send Xavier Worthy on a deep over the other way. Kelsey is going to come and chip help on Myles Garrett and then leak out late. Remember, this is 3rd and 10. The Browns are basically, they're just running cover one man. So Thornhill's the deep safety, and they actually, again, take the robber and blitz. So they're going to bring 5, and then because Kelsey chips to start, they end up having a 6th come delay, and they just leave Kelsey. Mahomes feels the pressure because there's a big blitz coming, and so he rolls over to the right. It looks like this play design is like a deep mesh, essentially. You know, the mesh concept is when you'll have a receiver run underneath to run like kind of a pick route and have another receiver come over to try to get open. But they're kind of doing the same thing at a deeper level. They're having these two guys run over routes and trying to get Worthy to come through. Worthy's defender is so far off of him. That's the respect that Worthy commands here. So Worthy really doesn't have any trouble beating his man over the middle. He didn't need any interference or anything. But he comes open. I mean, he's got the safety Thornhill over the top, but Worthy's open. And a lot of times when there are misses between Mahomes and Worthy, I'm looking at it like, well, did he think Worthy was going to come this way? But in this case, the side adjustment is that Worthy should keep this flat, right? He's got somebody on his back hip and he's got a safety over the top. It doesn't really make sense for him to take this route farther down. It looks to me like Mahomes just messed this up. Like, I don't think the ball should have been thrown where he threw it. I think that this is a ball that should be put out in front of Worthy right here. On a lot of previous ones, it was kind of like, well, it's hard to tell. Like, maybe the adjustment was that he expected Worthy to do one thing, not the other. This case, I don't know. Like, it's really hard to... So Mahomes throws it about when Worthy's running like this. So I guess from this position, well, here I am talking myself into it. Like maybe, because you really have to look at it when he's kind of making the throw. So he's coming to make the throw right here. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's possible. He thought Worthy was continuing on a diagonal trajectory. But when you've got the safety over the top, it just makes a lot more sense for this to be broken flat the way that Worthy does it. Like, I think Worthy makes a good decision here. Now, the one I think critique you could probably have is that if Worthy gets into the habit of not bending his routes over so much, when you kind of run that soft cut, it makes it a little harder for the quarterback to tell what direction you're going. So maybe the point is that he should kind of stick his foot in the ground and change his direction more quickly, but I don't know. To me, I'm not sure why Mahomes put the ball there. I feel like this has got to be thrown like somewhere around the 49 yard line, and this would have been a first down. Like there might be some nuances in the route running, like I was just saying, that maybe, that's kind of beyond my understanding, and someone who plays quarterback or receiver at a high level might be able to tell us a little more specifically. But to me, ultimately, like I just feel like with that coverage, it makes sense for the ball to go where Worthy was running. And I don't know if Mahomes, it just looks like he missed him. And that's too bad because, again, this is another situation where the play was there. We're talking about the third drive now. Like, play was there for them to move the ball. They just didn't execute. Like, this isn't a team that's not creating chances or that's getting flummoxed. True, they had some trouble with pressure we saw on that play with Garrett, but here on third down, on the first drive, the third down play was there. Hopkins wasn't able to haul it in. Here, the third down play was there. Mahomes just missed Worthy. Like, the plays are there. They've got to make them. All right, so now we're starting the fourth drive out of the 5 we were going to talk about. The Chiefs are still up 21-7, and they've got the ball first down and 10 now at their own 26-yard line or so. So let's run this play once, and then we'll come back and talk about it. So Mahomes drops back, gets pressure, comes out the left B gap, throws it to Worthy, who's not able to hang on to the pass. Incomplete pass here. So the first thing I'll say is, of all the plays we've looked at for those that talk about wanting the Chiefs to run the ball, this is the first one that I feel like people could have a gripe. This is a light box, right? There are only 6 in the box. My counter to that is the reason it's a light box is because the Chiefs are also in a lighter personnel. They're in 11 personnel, so they're in passing personnel. They've got 1 running back, 1 tight end. That's 11 personnel. And their 3 wide receivers are Hopkins up here, Worthy here, and Juju Smith-Schuster down here. So they're less equipped to block for a run also. But if you want to say, like, well, there was a light box, they could have run it here. It's the end of the third quarter. They're up 2 scores. They could have run it. Fine. The only other counter I would say is that, remember, since Worthy scored that touchdown, the Chiefs at this point have run the ball 3 times for a total of -1 yard. So they've been struggling with pressure. They're not really interested in putting themselves behind the sticks and running for nothing. You could argue their incomplete passes are putting them behind the sticks too, and that's true. But so like I said, this one is at least debatable. There are only 6 in the box, but they are in lighter personnel as well. So I could see people being on both sides of this argument. Mahomes takes the snap, and if you see, the Browns are playing cover 1 man again. They've got the underneath guy, and the underneath guy is basically doubling Kelsey inside. Worthy came out on an out route, and Juju's running a clear out on this side. And then you see on this side, Hopkins is running an over. So Mahomes, again, has 0 chance to do anything because as he hits the back of his drop, Myles Garrett is beating Worthy. Myles Garrett is beating Tooney around the edge. And look, Tooney held his own for a lot of this game. Myles Garrett's really good. They left Tooney one-on-one on him for this play, and that's just a lot to ask. And he got him around the arc. I mean, ultimately, like, this would have still been okay, but the interior line is also collapsing. So as they collapse, Mahomes doesn't have any room in the pocket to actually just step up. He has to escape through the B gap, which he does. And that's okay, except that it kind of narrows the field for him now. He's running toward his left as a right-handed guy, and then it exposes him to guys coming up and pressuring him. So Mahomes suddenly, like, these options on the other side of the field aren't available to him. He basically just has Worthy, who, to his credit, does a great job here. If you watch Worthy, he had finished his out. He sees scramble drills started. He pushes up field and then comes back at the first down marker. He does everything right except catch the ball. Mahomes gets it to him. It's a tough catch, but Worthy's got to bring that in. So this was a play that got ruined initially by pressure. One of the few times that they didn't chip over there to help, and they paid the price. But even then, they did enough. Mahomes and Worthy created enough here. Worthy just couldn't bring it in. And that's really unfortunate. That play was there. And again, the Chiefs, they did enough here to make this happen. They just have to connect on the catch. This is all there. We got it to Worthy. This could have been a 9-yard gain and really set them up in good position. But unfortunately, Worthy just wasn't able to bring it in. All right, we're on the next play now. It's 2nd and 10. So this is that 4th drive we were talking about. The Chiefs have the ball at their 26-yard line, 2nd and 10, with 14 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter. Now again, I'm going to keep beating this drum, but for those that were asking about why the Chiefs weren't running the ball so much, look, we've got 8 near the line of scrimmage. Again, not a favorable situation to run the ball. You can understand why the Chiefs didn't run the ball in this situation on this play. Well, let's run the play, and let's see what happened. As you can see, Mahomes was pressured almost immediately by Myles Garrett and had basically no option whatsoever on this play. So here's Mahomes. As he drops back, they again try to chip to help Joe Tooney on Myles Garrett with Kareem Hunt from the outside. But Garrett rushes power and goes straight into him, making the chip essentially useless. He walks Tooney back. Caliendo sees this happening and tries to help out. And he hits Garrett, ends up hitting him right into Mahomes' feet as Mahomes is trying to slide to his left. And so Mahomes isn't able to get off a meaningful throw at all. So again, this is immediate pressure. Routes aren't even like developing yet. Again, like with Mahomes moving to his left, it's kind of difficult to say, but Kelsey does pop open here. Part of that is because this defender is reading Mahomes' eyes and coming left. Hopkins does win on the outside. So if Mahomes had been able to stand in the pocket, he's got this throw right there. So again, the play was there. It's not like, the Browns just rushed 4. This was Myles Garrett just making a big play and, again, wrecking the offense. So Garrett, as you can see, even up until this point, Garrett had his fair share of plays where he just kind of destroyed what the Chiefs were trying to do and made it impossible for them to function. And that happened on this play as well. So now we jump ahead. We've got 8:07 to go in the fourth quarter, and the Chiefs are moving now. They have gone 41 yards in 8 plays, finally moving the ball, still up 21-7 as we near the midway point of the fourth quarter. For those of you asking about running the ball, of those 8 plays so far, 3 of them were runs, and those 3 runs went for a total of 5 yards. The 5 passes went for a total of 36 yards. And here we are on 3rd and 3. So let's take a look at what's going on, and then we'll break it down. So Mahomes takes the snap, drops back, moves to his left, and tosses one to Noah Gray, floats it. They weren't able to connect, and so that's an incompletion on 3rd and 3. So let's break down what happens. So first off, the Chiefs are here, and they are in 12 personnel. Samaje Perine is the running back. The 2 tight ends are Noah Gray and Travis Kelce. What the Browns are going to do on defense is they're going to run single high. So you can see here they've got the deep safety, and they're manned up underneath. They do kind of a man match, and we will sort out what exactly they do in just a second. But the interesting part to me, beyond their kind of handoff match concept, is their pressure concept. So what they seem like they're doing here is they're trying to do, we've talked about this over and over again, how teams will try to send pressure a certain way, get Mahomes to move a certain way, and then get a rusher in that area to pressure him. So in this case, they seem to be bringing everybody in, but it's not like they're forcing them down the line to get them to come out this way, because that's one strategy, right? People will kind of ram into the line, have somebody loop around, and then have Mahomes run into the looper. That doesn't seem to be the case here. They seem to be rushing this way with the idea of forcing him that way. And Myles Garrett drops off and waits, and he looks like he wants to be in space one-on-one against Tooney. And then as Mahomes drips over there, Garrett likes his chances of getting around Tooney in space and pressuring Mahomes. Watch how this is done. So see how, in this case, the end isn't kind of spiking in flat. So the spiking in flat would be like running right toward the guard. The end is still coming around. So this is more of like a looping pressure to try to force him to go that way. And he does. If you notice, he drifts over to the left a little bit. And look what Myles Garrett has done. He drops off completely. And, Myles Garrett is an athlete, right? So when he's in space against a lineman, especially a guard, he's going to try to... He likes his chances of being able to get around him and pressure. Interesting little design there from Jim Schwartz. All right, so what are the Chiefs doing? The Chiefs are running one of their kind of staples. We've talked about this on previous film reviews this season, but they like to run receivers against man across, then have the running back release the other way as like a natural pick setup to get the running back open and get a first down. Remember, this is 3rd and 3. So Gray and Watson are tasked as being the pickers. Kelce and this looks like Juju are coming across the other way as like deep options. But as you can see, 2 things happen. One is that the whole idea here is to create traffic. One of the things is that the Browns pass off the traffic really well. So their underneath zone defender is this fellow right here. As Noah Gray comes across and kind of comes free, because this defender and this defender kind of run into each other, which is the goal of these kinds of things, the Browns pass it off, so the underneath defender takes Noah Gray, and this guy becomes the new underneath defender. So it kind of negates the whole crosser causing confusion thing. And if he had to stay with Noah Gray, he would have been lost in this situation, having run past his defender. Look at how far behind Gray he is. But the Browns communicated this very well. He immediately just sinks back to be the underneath guy, and he goes with Noah Gray, so they kind of keep that coverage on him. Additionally, Watson is the guy who's tasked with picking Jordan Hicks, who's the one who's responsible for Pirine in the flat. So they're hoping to get Watson to interfere with Hicks enough that Pirine can get open. The problem is that where Watson and Hicks collide, and Watson again does a really good job of stopping and trying to get out of the way so that he doesn't get an offensive pass interference call. It's still, Pirine hasn't gotten enough width here yet for this to impede Hicks enough to stop him from staying with him. Hicks is fast enough that he's able to just come around and stay tight to Pirine. So Mahomes doesn't have, this is the primary option on this play. Mahomes doesn't have him open. And so then he comes back over to his left, sees Gray and likes Gray on a linebacker, and he actually floats a nice little touch pass, and Gray's just quite not able to haul it in. He gets a hand on it, but can't reel it in. If Gray unfortunately had just here, if he had just been drifting just a yard back, this would have been a completed pass for a first down. But the other kind of real sad part about this play is, look at how open Justin Watson is in the middle of the field. After trying to do that pick, Watson got kind of forgotten. And so if Mahomes had, if you see, it's harder to see on this view, but we'll see it later. Mahomes is looking over at Gray. He doesn't see Watson whatsoever. And what we'll see from the other view is he likes this matchup. So he has no reason to come off of Gray. He likes Gray on a linebacker. He thinks he can get him. And see how Gray has like depth behind. So you can see why Mahomes floated this, because that's where Gray kind of has the leverage, the advantage. Unfortunately, Gray kind of was a little flat on this. If Gray is a little bit deeper, which is where he has leverage, then this is a completed pass. And, if he breaks the tackle, who knows? But so realistically, when people talk about missing a wide receiver, like Mahomes sees a guy one-on-one that he likes, why would you look off of that guy to try to find somebody else? You wouldn't. Like, you got the matchup you want, you throw the pass. It's just too bad that Justin Watson ended up popping wide open, and if Watson catches this, that guy can build up some speed. I mean, I don't think he scores or anything like that, but he might have gotten 10 to 15 yards. Same might have been true of Gray, though, if he had been able to make this catch and this defender wasn't able to tackle him. It's just too bad that didn't work out, and that ended up being a failed third down conversion here. So you can see it again. This is the play that Mahomes wants. Look at him. He's looking at Pirine. He's following Pirine. This is what they want. And you see Watson come here, try to set the pick. Hicks already right on top of Pirine. And Mahomes sees it fast. Watch him looking over. And he knows as he sees this that he's not going to have that. That's not going to be what he wants. So he comes back over. I mean, he also has to come over because the right side of his line is getting moved back. So he comes left, and look at him. He's looking at Gray right here, and he thinks he has it. Like, he's not looking off of that. Look, right when he saw Gray, he was like, all right, let's do this. He likes this throw. Gray has some separation. Man, if Gray had just been a little bit back, or if that ball had just had a tad more touch on it, I mean, he still gets a nice hand on it. If he was just able to pull that in, that would have been a huge play. But you can also see how open Justin Watson is. But Mahomes, as you can see, he's made the decision. He sees that he wants to throw it. Why would he look back over here? Next time he goes back to look at Gray now might not be open anymore. So there's no reason in this situation when you have a guy who you feel like is winning to go look at somebody else. Oh, and they should have been able to connect on that. It's really unfortunate they didn't. But honestly, I feel like the play was played really well. It was just a little bit off, and that's the difference sometimes. So they aren't able to convert on 3rd and 3. Now it's 4th down. All right, so now we're at the 4th down play. This would be the last play that Mahomes played in this game because he ended up getting injured on this play. One thing I forgot to mention when discussing the previous play is this would be another situation where I would be okay with hearing some criticism about the running, because if you know you're going to go for it on 4th down, then when you have 3rd and 3, I can understand people being like, well, why didn't you just try running the ball on 3rd and 3? Especially as, the Browns did seem a little more geared up for the pass there. So that, I think, was reasonable. As I said, of the 10 plays, there was that one earlier where there was a 1st down, and there were only 6 in the box, even though the Chiefs were in 11 personnel. And then that 3rd down play where it's like, well, if you know you're going to go for it on 4th, maybe you just run the ball on 3rd down and try to convert that one. In any case, here we are on 4th down, 4th and 3, and let's run the play and see what happens. Mahomes drops back, and the pocket starts collapsing. He gets nailed as he tries to throw it and is unable to complete it to Juju Smith-Schuster, and the Chiefs fail to convert. So the Chiefs come out here, and they're in 12 personnel. They've got P. Ryan as the running back, and they've got Gray and Kelsey as the tight ends. The wide receivers are Hopkins and Juju. So what they end up trying to do, again, the Browns are running a cover 1 man, and they end up trying to run a pick concept again. So this time they've got Juju and Gray coming up and Kelsey coming underneath. And it looks like Kelsey's got the option to make this a drag route or a mesh route, like a drag route or a whip route. And you can see here as he comes in, their defender's sitting here waiting on a drag. So there's no point in doing that. So Kelsey comes in and tries to go out on the whip route, but he's not able to win on that route. The defender's with him, so there's nothing there. The option that really was there, if Mahomes had had a second more to throw, was DeAndre Hopkins running his out on the backside. If you see, Hopkins just comes in and runs an out route, and he wins immediately on the out. So this could have been a throw to be made. But even as Hopkins is coming out of his break, Mahomes is feeling the pressure. Again, he just didn't have time in a lot of these pass plays. The pressure was pretty extreme by the end of this game. The Browns were really kind of daring the Chiefs to throw, coming with 4 and managing to make it happen. Again, the encouraging thing, though, is that guys are getting open here. Hopkins got open, and on the secondary action, Juju gets open too as he comes across the middle. But at this point, Mahomes is stepping up through pressure in the pocket. He sees Juju and tries to make a throw here, but he sees Juju as he steps up, and he tries to make a throw, but he gets hit and is not able to throw this ball accurate. He actually jumps into it and tries to make a throw, and then as he's hit from the front, he also has the defensive tackle land on his right ankle, and it's the similar mechanism to what happened to him against the Chargers. Somebody landing on with their weight on him from behind, and his right ankle kind of turned out as he landed, and that's what caused the sprain. But again, we can see it here from this view. So he's looking for Kelsey initially, right? And Kelsey, again, coming in doesn't make sense with the underneath defenders. They were ready with, Thornhill coming down as well, and Hicks, 2 of their better defenders, ready underneath. So Kelce tries to come out on the whip route, but if you're a defender here, you're not going to overcommit to the drag because you have help inside. So winning on the outside route is very difficult. This defender does a good job of trailing so that he's ready on the whip route. The whole benefit of the whip route is if the defender thinks he's going to get beaten this way. So he overconvinced this way and you can come back out. The problem is he's not scared about that because he's got help inside. So he has no need to overcommit that way. He doesn't want Kelce to win that way. So he's going to just stay and wait, if fine, go inside, meet the linebacker. But when Kelce tries to come outside, he's ready for it. And as Mahomes now, the seas kind of part for him, and this is his only option for escape. So he tries to come up, and Juju comes open right there. Mahomes sees him and tries to jump and throw it to him, and he's just hit. He's not able to make an accurate throw. If Mahomes gets hit half second later, he's probably able to get this ball over here instead of where he put it farther over there, and Juju would have been able to come up with this catch. He's just not able to make an accurate throw. And again, you can see 94 right here lands with his body weight on the back of Mahomes' legs, and that's what causes the ankle sprain. And we can quickly look at, if those of you that remember, this is the 2022, at the end of the 2022 season, the divisional playoff game against the Jaguars. This is where Mahomes got injured in the playoffs, and it's a similar mechanism. You can see Arden Key right here. He ends up kind of using more of that hip drop action, although he kind of falls with his weight pretty late. He sinks down to hit him in the back of the legs. That's a little less of a clean play, if you ask me, than the Browns play, right? This defensive tackle clearly just seems to be trying to sack Mahomes, and he gets him right on the legs. Whereas this play, he's kind of got him up top. The ball is out, and then he kind of pulls him down, pulls his body weight down, and lands on him, the back of his legs, and that's what caused the initial injury. You can see it again here. Gets hit, and then kind of comes down on the back of his leg after. So this does look like it's kind of a similar high ankle sprain to what Mahomes had before, and hopefully he will be able to recover as well as he did during that playoff run when the Chiefs ended up winning the Super Bowl. Ultimately, though, looking at what happened to the Chiefs offense, as you can probably tell from this review, I'm not as bothered as most people are about them not running the ball. I don't think they had a lot of favorable run looks. And ultimately, over these 5 drives that we have covered, the Chiefs ran the ball a total of 6 times for 4 yards. So when they were running, it's not like it was working. It was setting them behind the sticks as well. So you can see why Andy abandoned the run with the combination of ineffectiveness of the run and the Browns were loading the box and daring him to throw. And the Chiefs have got to be able to throw better in those situations. There were a combination of things that went wrong. I think the line struggled. Myles Garrett himself blew up a couple plays, or at least made some plays difficult. The line in general struggled. The pocket was collapsed a couple times, including on this 4th down play. And then there were plays to be made, and the Chiefs just didn't make them. Mahomes missed a throw to Worthy. Worthy dropped a pass. Hopkins wasn't able to come up with a pass. That Thornhill made a great play on a throw to Kelce. I mean, those are 4 big plays that didn't happen. Noah Gray wasn't able to reel in that catch. So a couple were just minor execution issues on plays that were working. So I think the biggest thing that any Chiefs fan has to look for is that we need the offensive line shored up. If the offensive line is playing at a decent level by the playoffs, I don't think there's any reason to be concerned about this offense. I think this offense will be fine, and the Chiefs will be poised to make a deep run. I think the other thing that's encouraging is the defense looked so good in this game. If the defense can continue on that kind of trajectory and the offensive line gets shored up, I think things will be perfectly fine in Kansas City. Now, for our final play of this week's film review, we go to about 3:16 to go in the third quarter. The Browns have the ball with a 2nd and 23 at their own 38-yard line. The Chiefs are up 21-0. And let's see what happens on this play. So take a snap from the gun, and they run a draw, and they get it all. A long run down the right sideline for a touchdown. So let us look into how this happened. The Chiefs defense had such a good day, and this was the blemish on their day. Let's see what happened. So the Browns come out here, and again, not knowing their personnel extremely well, but it does look like, well, I can't 100% tell if there is a tight end on the field. It sure doesn't look like it. It looks like we're 4 wide, which would be 10 personnel, 1 running back and no tight ends. And it looks like they have 4 wide receivers on the field. The Chiefs come out in their nickel. There are their 2 linebackers, Tranquil and Bolton. They have 5 defensive backs. They have Najee Johnson, Chris Roland Wallace, Jaden Hicks, Justin Reed, and Trent McDuffie. And so this is a draw play from the Browns. So the Browns this looks like a passing formation. And at the snap, you can tell that Chris Jones especially is rushing the passer, right? And that's the other thing to note. The Chiefs have kind of a pass rushing team in, right? They don't have Mike Pinnell or Derek Nottie. Their second defensive tackle is Turk Wharton. So we got Wharton. Karlaftis is rushing from the inside. Jones is rushing from the edge, and they have Charles Omenihu. So definitely a line that should be able to stop the run, but they don't have like a big stout guy because, of course, it's 2nd and 23. You're in your nickel. But at the snap, Chris Jones is clearly rushing the passer from the onset, which is what you want in a draw. And so he's kind of run out of the play immediately. But everybody else kind of holds their gap adequately, and Drew Tranquil comes in to fill the gap that is created here in the middle of the field. So Tranquil comes and fills this gap, and Reed does a good job too of coming to fill here. He comes downhill to fill, and then the person responsible for this gap is Chris Roland Wallace, and he's the one that misses his assignment here. Because if you look, Najee Johnson actually does a great job holding the edge here and preventing Ford from going outside. He kind of holds his position, holds the edge, but this gap is open, and Roland Wallace isn't able to get in and fill it adequately, and he doesn't take a good enough angle to slow the running back, who's able to go all the way for a touchdown. And so what happened with Roland Wallace? Well, this is a tough spot for him because the Chiefs are rotating coverages, of course, anticipating a pass. So they come out kind of showing a 2 high with Hicks and Justin Reed. And then at the snap, Reed comes down, Hicks is coming over, and Roland Wallace is actually dropping. This looks like they're playing 2 high with Roland Wallace as the second deep safety. So at the snap, on a draw, he's running the other way because he's dropping from an underneath guy to be a deep safety. If you'll remember, this is the exact same rotation that Brian Cook, Jaden Hicks, and Justin Reed did on the Brian Cook interception early in this game. So they rotate. Roland Wallace is coming back, but it's actually a run. And Roland Wallace gets caught going a little too far inside when the run is in here. Because ultimately, like we said, Tranquil's filling this gap. Reed is coming in to fill this gap. We've got Bolton here. This is the vulnerable position. And Roland Wallace has to maintain enough depth and width that he could cover this gap. I'm not saying he's going to sprint over here right now and be there. But you can't get caught so far inside that you can't cover this gap. And I think the problem is the running back is a lot faster than Roland Wallace anticipated. You haven't played against these guys. First of all, you're not anticipating a run on 2nd and 23, and you're not anticipating him being able to bounce it all the way out here. But that's your responsibility. And again, credit to Najee Johnson setting this edge, because if he wasn't able to, this would have just come around him too and out to the outside. But he's able to set that edge, forcing the cutback inside, which is always what you want to do as the edge defender against the run because your pursuit is coming from the inside. So the hope is you hold him up enough that your people can get to him. And if that had happened here where Roland Wallace was able to get enough width to prevent him from just busting through this gap, he might have been able to be stopped for between a 7 and 10 yard gain. Maybe even 12 or 15, but still it's 2nd and 23. But instead he's able to get around the edge, and then nobody on the Chiefs defense is as fast as he is, and he goes all the way for the touchdown. Again, we'll see it from here. Like we said, Chris Jones kind of run out of the play immediately. Here he comes up the middle, but first Tranquil comes, and he does a good job fitting. So we'll see Tranquil come. He fits. Tries to bounce. Reed and Karlaftis are able to get off and fit. And this is where Roland Wallace is too far inside. He got caught. Why? Because he was already coming. He had been backpedaling, remember, at the snap. And now he's trying to come in, seeing a run coming up this way. But he's got to be at least available for the contingency that it comes to his gap. And he got caught too far inside. At this point, he's not fast enough to make up this distance. And Ford gets right by him and goes all the way for the touchdown. At this time, the Browns got the score to 21-7, and ultimately that would be the final score of this game. The Chiefs would win it 21-7. Thanks so much for watching. As always, please follow along at STCF715 on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. We try to post things throughout the week, and particularly we are on Twitter during game days of the Chiefs and the Steelers. And please download and listen to our podcast. It's available wherever you get podcasts, or you can find it here on this YouTube channel. Thanks so much for all of you that follow along. Until next time.